Hey there, I'm professional psychic Karen Marie, and this is Psyched Up for Sunday, May 22nd, 2022. And I have a special guest with me today on the show, Amista Bennett, who's a wonderful psychic from Colorado. I'm going to let her introduce herself in a minute, but I'm just going to go over the overview for this show. So I'm going to let Amista introduce herself and tell a little bit about herself. Then I'm going to go over the transits for the week as usual. We're going to have a discussion on how we both believe that everyone is psychic. And then we're both going to do mini readings for all 12 signs. We're going to take turns. So you're going to get a bonus reading this week from both of us. So Amista, would you start off by telling everybody about yourself and your work?
Sure, thank you. So my name is Amista Bennett. I've been doing psychic readings, specifically psychic tarot readings, since 2012. And I have so much fun with it. I'm really blessed that I get to do what I love to do. I also do Reiki sessions for people as well. I am a Yasui Reiki master. And I just like to say that I'm a mystic in training. But I just have a lot of fun doing this. And so I am just thrilled to be here talking and just chewing the fat with somebody else who is into this type of stuff. How much fun can we get into? We're going to find out.
Yeah, and so I'm going to be putting below Amista's YouTube channel and all her information, how you can get in touch with her and what she's got going on too. We'll put that all below so you can investigate further if you'd like. So how this even came to be is that a couple of weeks ago, I got very clear guidance from my guides that I needed to collaborate with other psychics, and I'm like, okay, well, who? that was my back talk, as I am often back talking my guides. I don't know about you, Amista. I'm like when they were guiding me to start a YouTube channel, I'm like, I was middle fingering them back, no way. So this, I was like, okay, well then just show me who. And then I was posting one of my dailies on my professional psychic page on Facebook was where I was. And then one of your videos came up where you were doing, it was a day late, but it had been like a live video reading you were doing out of a bookstore or something in Colorado. Is that correct? And so
it's a metaphysical store, best metaphysical store in Denver. For heaven's sake, you'll have to check it out if you live around there.
Oh, nice plug.
Sorry, had to throw that in.
Great plug. No, perfect. No, and so, but I've never had like a feed like that come up. I don't spend much time on my Psyched Up Facebook page, so for it was top of my feed. I'm like, okay, guys, because I just stopped and watched it, and I'm like, oh, okay. And I got it clear, got the goosies. It's just one of my confirmation things. I'm supposed to be connecting with you. Reached out, you and I did a trade. It was really cool. I pitched you the idea, hey, you want to come on my show? And so it was a yes. I'm like, oh, that was easy. Thank you, guys. So that's how this came to be. It was total guidance all the way around. That's how I roll. So it's so nice to meet a sister who rolls like that as well. So okay, so I'm gonna do the transits for the week and first, and then we're gonna have our dialogue about how we think everybody's psychic. All right, so right now the sun has moved into Gemini, and yesterday on Saturday, the sun was at 0 degrees of Gemini, and Mercury, which is retrograde, was at 0 degrees of Gemini. So they were conjunct together. So this was like a meeting of the mind. So I don't know if you had sort of like a aha or messages from the divine come through, but Mercury retrograde, to me, one of the benefits of Mercury, Mercury retrograde gets a bad rap. So Mercury went retrograde the 10th of May, and it'll be traveling back till the 2nd or 3rd of June, depending on where you are. Then it starts going direct again. It'll be till the 19th of June till it comes back out of shadow. So the Mercury retrograde period lasts for a while. But when Mercury's retrograde, the classic symptoms are your technology, your communication, your phones, your computers, your cars, your travel plans all get glitched up in some way. But one of the benefits is that you get to go back and rethink or look at things from a different perspective. This Mercury retrograde has been especially gnarly for a lot of people I've been hearing because it started off in one of its home signs in Mercury's, right? So now it's about to move into Taurus. So that's a benefit in terms of, then we get a more grounded thinking. And again, it's like we're doing the moonwalk back mentally about what do we need to reconsider, rethink, look at it in a different way, right? So Saturday we had this like meeting of the sun, and they're like, passing each other. Now the sun moves into Gemini, so we have the next 30 days. The themes of Gemini, communication and technology, all the Mercury retrograde things, will have it kind of in a positive way. So the sun's putting extra emphasis on our communications with others. So even like social media stuff is big. So this is cool that we're doing this today with the sun moving into Gemini. It kind of gives us extra oomph for that, and a good kickoff for the season of Gemini. And the other thing, last weekend we had our full moon lunar eclipse, which I felt the hangover of all week long. We feel eclipses ahead of time. We feel them after effects. So, we had this big Jupiter-Neptune conjunction in April, which to me was not just to me, it was a once in our lifetime bringing together of the two rulers of Pisces. And so to me, this was a spiritual awakening period, like woke people up. Those of us who were already awake, it's like we got some jet fuel in our tank, bam. So that, to me, that was kind of where things started, right? And then we had two eclipses. We had a solar eclipse on the 30th of April, and then we just had last weekend the lunar eclipse. Eclipses always come in pairs, and they always come in conjunction with where the nodes are. So the north node moved into Taurus in January, the south node moved into Scorpio. So we've been having these themes, north node in Taurus. We're learning. The north node is where we're all on the planet in class, learning the themes of wherever the north node is transiting. So Taurus themes are about valuing ourselves, taking care of our physical body. Its ruler is Venus. So a lot about our heart, our relationships, how we receive energy, and our money. So it takes a year and a half for the nodes to transit a sign. So then the eclipses come along and add extra paw to the lessons that we're learning. The south node is always about what we're releasing, where we're letting go. In Scorpio, it's like the deep, dark waters, the unconscious, the subconscious. Scorpio's ruler is Pluto, which is all about transformation. So eclipses are always about like speeding up timelines, or like moving through portals and jettisoning our lives faster. People come into our lives around eclipses, people go out of our lives around eclipses. So the fact that you and I connected, Amista, during this eclipse season adds extra oomph to our connection for all the rest of our connection too. So anybody that comes into your life around an eclipse typically is going to be someone who's going to be sticking around for a while. People can come and go. We'll have another series of eclipses at the end of the year, October, November. They'll be in Scorpio and then Taurus. So again, because they're going to be around where the nodes are. So we've got double emphasis with this theme. One of the thing about Scorpio energy, which is where the most recent eclipse was, is it's very, very psychic. So it can really be another initiation of psychic abilities. And like we're going to be talking about, everyone is psychic. So even people who don't think they're psychic have been going, they call out to me like, my dreams have been off the chain lately, or like, oh, I've been getting this deja vu, or like I've been picking up on someone and then they're texting me, so like those are little bitty ways that can really show up for everybody. But so we've all been sort of initiated with the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction in April, then these two eclipses. So we're like wrecked and ready to go. And we feel eclipses a good 6 months after the fact. So, so we're still in the, like I said, the hangover period of the eclipses. It can be really jarring for people, especially with Scorpio, can really dredge stuff up from your unconscious psyche. It can dredge up past life memories. Like it can be super powerful in that way. So we're dealing with the hangover from the eclipses, and we'll continue it. The further away from the eclipse, the less intensive it'll get. But, certain things that come into our awareness around the eclipses, like sometimes we never forget those things, right? They're just like those awakenings or those aha realizations, especially with all this psychic energy about, like, it's just such a cool time. It's an intensive time, but it's also a time for great growth. right? Okay, so the sun's moving through Gemini now, whole new theme. Mercury's back in, or will back into Taurus. Mars is on its last degrees of Pisces. So it's, where is it today? I wrote my little notes here. It's at 27, no, it's at 28 degrees today. It'll be on the very last degree of Pisces on Monday. So this is called the anaretic degree, the very last degree, 29 degrees of any sign. It's kind of like where we take our final exam. Pisces is the very last sign of the entire zodiac. Mars is how we take action and put energy into things. So we're ending a whole season. It takes 2 years for Mars to completely go around the zodiac. So we're ending a 2-year cycle this week, and we're beginning a new one. Mars will move into Aries on Tuesday. What's really cool is the moon right now is in Aquarius. It'll move through Pisces, and it kind of goes into Aries about the same time that Mars does. So there's like an extra oomph. We just had Jupiter move into Aries recently too. So Jupiter right now is at 2 degrees. It'll be moving to 3 degrees this week. So it's in the early degrees of Aries. So we've got this initiation energy. Jupiter has a 12-year cycle. So it takes Jupiter 12 years to go around the zodiac. So there's this new cool energy of new cycles in a lot of ways, right? Venus has been moving through Aries. So that's a new cycle for Venus too, except Venus is not like it in Aries. So Venus will be moving into Taurus, one of her home signs this week. She's going to like that a lot. So I'll talk about that. I'm going to go a day by day. So today's Sunday. We have Mercury backing back into Taurus. We have the moon in Aquarius. We'll be going into Pisces late in the day. Just in terms of anybody who wants to start learning about transits, one of the easiest ways to do it is just paying attention to where the moon is. You could just start with that one planet and take notes see if you notice anything about the moon moving through the different signs, right? The moon moving through Pisces is super psychic, super spiritual. It could also make us super sleepy, super tired, like, because the moon seems to illuminate the lessons of the sign. You know, the sun as well shines a big old spotlight on it. The moon is more internal experience of it. It's more we experience it personally. So if you want to start learning about transits yourself, that's where I suggest you start, is paying attention. The sun too, that's an easier one. But the moon, since it changes signs every 2.5 to 3 days, you know, it's kind of easier to track. See if you notice anything, notice the difference as the moon moves through its different signs. We have Venus conjuncting Aries on Monday. So Aries is a stand up for your rights asteroid. She, you know, wants to be right there on the battlefield and protesting. And so Venus conjunct Aries could make people want to stand up for their rights in relationships, or when it comes to their finances or whatever. It could really just be no, or I want this in the relationship. So there could be people really putting out there what they want. And Mars on this last degree of the whole zodiac too on Monday could be kind of like lessons that you've needed to wrap up over the last 2 years too. Like, what have you been learning about? Where have you been putting your energies on a daily basis? Like, how are you taking action, putting your energies into things that serve you? Are you off track? Are you on track? I feel like if you pay attention, you know, today and tomorrow, you can really get some insights into, am I putting my energies into the best place? Mercury retrograde is helping us rethink things and look at things maybe different, maybe change our mind about things. The sun will sextile Jupiter on Monday. This is a positive connection between Jupiter, the good luck planet, and the sun. The sun will be at 2 degrees of Gemini. Jupiter will be at 2 degrees of Aries. So this could be like good news coming in, something unexpected, like a gift from the universe. Somehow Jupiter is a gift bringer. It can bring good things. It can bring good people into your life. So that's a cool day. Mercury will be sextiling Mars that day. Mercury will be at 29 degrees of Taurus. Mars will be at 29 degrees of Pisces. That's also a beautiful connection between your head and how you take action. So I really feel like people can get some easy insights on Monday. So that feels powerful. Then Tuesday is the big Mars into Aries, moving into its home turf. Whew, finally, it is not like moving to Pisces. It's been offline. Like, I am a triple Aries, so my ruler is Mars. So going through Pisces, I've been super tired, like sick, can't seem to get enough sleep. So like we can all like go, oh, okay, we got the energy now to put into things. You know what? You're probably going to feel that shift early this week. And again, transits, you can feel them ahead of time, you can feel them after the fact. So I often will feel transits ahead of time. I can start feeling, call me psychic, but I often can feel things before they happen. So you may be feeling these either sides, or I'm just talking about when this is happening. So a whole new 2-year cycle. It's a great time to journal about what kind of actions do I want to take? What actions do I feel guided to take? Like for the next 2 years, what do I want my life to go over the next 2 years? Where do I want to be putting my energies in the next 2 years? What kind of areas do I want to flourish and grow over the next 2 years? It's like an activation. Jupiter's there conjunct it. So Jupiter's like, yeah, whatever you want. It's like the genie there in the bottle, like just give an extra oomph to it. Venus will be sextiling Saturn that day too. So again, the planet of love, relationships, sextiling. This is a positive relationship with Saturn, which is how we structure things, how we form things. They're both at 25 degrees, which is makes to a 7, very psychic, very spiritual. So we can get some ideas about how to put boundaries around relationships, around our money. Again, this is a positive aspect. So we got some really beautiful astrology going on this week. Wednesday, we have Mercury retrograde trining Pluto retrograde. This is also a positive. Trines and sextiles we like. This is we have lots of trines and sextiles in a week. It's like, oh, this week's going to feel good. Even though Mercury's retrograde, that can still be doing its glitchy thing. But Mercury retrograde trining Pluto. So this can be transformation in our thinking, because Pluto's about death and transformation. Mercury's our thinking and our communication. We get a transformation in our relationships, communication with others. People can be getting new cars and new computers and new phones because they went belly up, already. So that might be happening. The moon's going to be moving into Aries somewhere here Tuesday, Wednesday. So then we have the moon's energy in Aries as well. So there's this fired up activation. The moon will cross over Mars when it's still in Pisces, I believe, and then crosses over Jupiter. So again, this is more gift bringing. Any planet that interacts personally with Jupiter is like, mwah, big kiss from Jupiter. So Jupiter's kissing everybody all over the place. It's like your grandmother wants to kiss you all over your face and bring you extra gifts and presents this week. So this is a great week to receive from on high. Moon's going to be in Aries on Thursday, and then either very late in the day or early in the morning on Friday, depending on where you are on the planet, is our first square of the week. And this is Venus squaring Pluto. So this is going to be, no, buck stops here. This has to be transformed. There can be the death of relationships, the death of something where you're earning your money, the death of like, I'm not going to do it this way anymore. No. Power control is also Pluto. So the square is like a contentious relationship. So you've gotten all your insights and your good juju in the first part of the week. So when this comes up, you're like, no, I'm ready to stand up for myself. Pluto retrograde is a lot about internal power, and standing up for yourself. So I really feel like people will be like, no, you can't run over me anymore. No, I'm not willing to do that anymore. Venus will be on the very last degree of Aries on Friday. The moon's moving into Taurus. So again, wrap up of Aries, Venus at the last day. This could definitely be kind of Thursday into Friday could really be kind of like watch your contentious relationship time, because it can be with the square to Pluto and Venus at the very last degree of Aries. It could be, when Mars was at the last degree of Aries, that's when January 6th happened. So the planet of Mars, the god of war, at his very last degree of Aries, those things can really be heightened. Again, it's the final exam. And Aries can be passion and intensity, but it can be impulsivity. It could be like fiery temper. So it can be kind of contentious on Friday. The moon in Taurus will help ground out that energy. But since Mercury's retrograde, I can really see communications can go wonky. So know that ahead of time. So if you're planning that deep level conversation with someone, do it earlier in the week. Like, don't wait till Friday to do it, is what I say. You can't avoid it. Maybe we'll wait till Saturday to have that conversation. Venus moves into Taurus on Saturday. The moon's in Taurus. We have Mars conjunct Jupiter in Aries next Sunday, a week which is, again, the plan of taking action, getting a boost in a beautiful way. So the majority of the week feels super powerful, super sweet. One other thing I wanted to talk about, the Chiron's at 15 degrees. Chiron is the wounded, 15 degrees of Aries. Chiron is the wounded healer. Where Chiron is where we're healing something. And the glyph looks like a key. So once we heal, it becomes a place of great strength. Right now in the mid-decan of Aries, it's really healing how we feel about ourselves when it comes to our connections with other people and whether or not we care about what other people think about us, right? So this can be a healing about that. Uranus is at 15 degrees of Taurus. So they're semi-sextile or in a, what I like to call a soul harmonic with each other. So you can get sudden, unexpected Uranus messages from the divine about this healing. So this could be really beautiful. This is kind of going on all throughout the week. Another thing that's kind of going on all week long is the asteroid Ceres is at 2 degrees of Cancer and Black Moon Lilith is at 4 degrees of Cancer. So Black Moon Lilith is where our fears can come up. So in early degrees of Cancer, it can be fears about our safety. You know, Cancer is where we feel safe and nurtured and supported. Ceres is a nurturing asteroid. So Ceres is really helping to have us know how to nurture ourselves around our fears instead of just letting our fears take over. It's like, well, is that really real? Is that like, how can we flip that fear, right? So Ceres can really be helpful in tempering these fears of safety in particular is what I get this week. Also, the other thing I thought was interesting, Juno, which is the good wife. It's like our committed relationship asteroid. It's at 10 degrees of Pisces. This is like a manifestation degree. So you could be manifesting past life connections, past life mates. You can have people in your life kind of show up this week that are past life lovers. I don't know. I'm just kind of getting that hit that could be an extra kind of like, oh, I know you. Like, are we supposed to do this again this lifetime? Just because someone's a past life love, by the way, FYI, does not mean you're supposed to take that go round in this lifetime. I think all relationships are about learning and developing and growing, and that we're kind of Disney programmed that life on this planet is about, oh, finding our soulmate and living happily ever after. I think that's a crock. I think we're here to grow and evolve as a soul, and all relationships, the bad ones and the good ones, if they help facilitate our growth and we learn something from them, they are beneficial. That's my little soapbox spiel on that. Okay, so now, Amista, that's the transits for the week. Let's dive into this conversation about how we believe everyone is psychic. Since I've been talking, you
well, wait. First of all, okay. I want to go back. I have to say thank you for saying that about past lives, and that doesn't mean you're obligated to do anything with them this life, because so many people between past lives, twin flames, and soulmates, they think that commits them to going into a relationship with somebody that sometimes is very toxic, and it keeps them in that relationship a lot longer than they should be. So I'm just so glad that you actually brought that up.
I mean, I feel like the best people for us in terms of good relationships are what I call soul tribe, right? Like,
yes.
I don't think there's just one soulmate, twin flame. I don't know. Maybe you've been twins in a past life. That's really a thing. I can see that. But I don't feel like there's one other twin. That's kind of like, oh, really? With all the billions of people on the planet, there's just one other soul that's your mate. There's just one other soul that's your twin. No, more likely there's a tribe of people that any one of your tribal members you're going to be with. Oh, we know each other. We've been around each other many, many, many times, right? And you can recognize that right from the start. You can recognize someone, oh, I know you. Well, what were the scenarios in those past lives? Right? It could have killed you. And
were they worth re-entering again?
To get the intel, right? So I always tell people it's really best to travel around the sun at least once to see someone in all their vicissitudes, see the sun travel through all the signs and see how that shows up to really get to know someone. You know, people jump into relationships really quickly or try to make that decision right away. Are you my person? Are you my person? And just like, let's do this. Like, well, do you have enough information? Like,
I can personally say that is not a good idea, having done that.
So here's one area where I feel like everyone's psychic, right? Because what I see over and over and over again when I do readings for people and they're in bad relationships, they overrode their own intuition when it came to red flag signals that came up
Yes.
early in the
Yes.
relationship.
Or somebody told them that this person was their twin flame, getting back onto that topic. And my personal belief about twin flames is really honestly, I think that some psychic somewhere was having a super toxic relationship. They couldn't figure out how to let go of it. So there must be a spiritual reason. It must be a twin flame. And next thing you know, they're telling everybody else in toxic relationships, that must be your twin flame. You're learning a lot from this, aren't you? When really what they should be saying is run for the hills.
What is your gut telling you? Right. So 'cause that's to me one of the places that psychic intuition comes up. Like I was unaware that I was psychic. People ask me, how did you know you were psychic? Like I was getting all kinds of deja vu. I was getting gut stuff, but I wasn't translating that. I was super empathic without realizing that I was soaking up everyone else's feelings. And especially because I was with two parents who I would pitch, well, oh, I'm like, whatever. Are you feeling this way? No, no, I'm not. Like if you're on someone who's in denial of your stuff, you're not going to
You're
get
being
validated.
gaslit as a kid.
Exactly. And so it's like, I didn't get any of my intuition validated, not by my core family, so I'm like, I didn't know. Right. So
Right.
when did you first start knowing that you were psychic?
I didn't know until after I was 41 years old and my significant other passed away and I started hearing from him. And it took me a while to sort out, was I crazy or was there actually spiritual communication going on? Because I had been raised strict Catholic and I had been taught that, if you go see a psychic, you go straight to hell. You do not pass go. You do not collect $200. You're going straight down the chute. There's no turning that back. So the idea that I might actually be psychic was just a really foreign idea to me. And so I really had to sort all that out. And
but when you look back, were there times that you were being psychic and you just weren't aware of it?
oh yeah, I was picking up psychic information all the time.
Right.
And I really just thought, well, we all breathe too, but we don't stand around and talk about it. So I figured everybody was psychic, I figured we
And
all were
everybody
picking
is,
up,
right? Yeah.
I figured we were all picking up information and we didn't feel the need to talk about it because it was just something you do, just like breathing, you know? And then when I actually came out with my psychic abilities, I came out to my grandma after I had really investigated to figure out if I was crazy or if something really was happening. And she was just hilarious. She looked up at me. She was sitting in a wheelchair and she looked up at me and she says, and she's from Arkansas, so I got to try to do the accent right. She said, well, honey, I hope you don't think you're surprising me.
Aww.
Told her, I said, well, I was surprised. How did you know? She said, well, I've known since you were in diapers.
That's
And she
awesome.
told me
Yeah.
the story about, I guess we were sitting at the dinner table one night. They had come, her and Granddaddy had come to visit. And I said to Grandma after supper, I had said, did you notice how angry Mom was when Dad said such and such? And she hadn't. And apparently Mom hadn't given really any kind of body language or clues or anything. And Grandma
It's happened
actually
to her emotional
asked,
body. Yeah.
yeah, Grandma actually asked my mom because she didn't know what to think of me saying that. And then my mom actually verified what I had told my grandma. Of course, I didn't know I was doing anything different,
Yeah, I was getting so much. I always knew how everybody felt around me, and it like you said, I thought everybody knew what everybody felt. Like,
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
information everybody had. Like you know, oh no, for me, I like it to like a dial that everyone's psychic, and some of us just have naturally the volume turned up really loud and we can't ignore it, and it just gets louder the more we tune in and pay attention to it, which is true for everybody. Some people's volumes is just turned down, or sometimes they're turned off completely, because a lot of times it's because of religious program. Or I see the people that are the most afraid of tapping into their intuition are people who have a strong, brilliant mind too, because that mind runs the show. You know, the mind to me is the biggest obstacle. Everything we've learned, everything we've been taught, everything we've been programmed into our little computers is the block to being able to tap into the intuition. I believe everyone is psychic because we all have that spiritual divine within ourselves.
Yes.
That's still part of the soul that carries on after we put our ego and our body down, that our intuition is linked into this piece of us. It's the voice of the higher self is what I see as our intuition. And it shows up differently for everyone. Like, just like some people are more visual, some people are more auditory, some people are more feeling, you know, like all the senses can be expanded in psychic ways. So people can have smells, they can have, you know, because when I first started going to psychics when I was a young adult, and every psychic I went to told me, oh, you're so psychic, you should be able to do readings for me. I was like really perplexed. Like, I had a palm reader said, you have a Mr. Cross in the middle of your palm. You're going to be making your living doing psychic work. I was a business major at UT at the time. I'm like, what? What are they going? Oh man, she's full of it. You know, it's like, had no idea. But then, you know, I was going to a lot of psychics because I couldn't stop going, because I kept wanting to, like, something kept me going back, right? And I had a psychic that was channeling from my father who had passed. No way she would know that my dad had crossed, you know. It's like, and just a powerful, I was in tears, like in the space of like a 20-minute reading at a psychic fair. I got further than I usually get in 6 months of therapy. I was like, wow.
Right.
But she could just like,
So I have a question for you.
yeah.
Because I had something similar happen with the Reiki. People kept telling me, oh, you're a healer, you're a healer, you're a healer. I was like, nope, not interested. And finally I did it. But my question is more about, once you started doing readings, how many times did that table flip and you told somebody else, you're going to be doing what I do?
Oh, right. Yeah, a lot. You're right. I've done that a lot. And well, and I didn't.
And did they think that you lost the plot just like you did of those other people?
I've definitely had to convince you. Or I'll tell people when I first started doing readings, it was just for friends, for fun. I would never plan to be a psychic. That was never my intentions. But when I got it from the umpteenth psychic who had told me, oh, you're so psychic, I'm like, well, if I'm so psychic, then I should be able to access it and develop it myself. I'm a triple Aries, so I'm going to do it myself. And so I went and got a deck of tarot cards, just a Rider-Waite kind of cutesy. Maybe it was like a cutesier version of that. You know, I'm very visual. And so I was getting nothing though. I was like trying, like, if I'm so psychic, I don't need to read the book, right? I was like,
I love it.
getting nothing, right? And so one day I had the tarot deck out on my table, and I had neighbors on either side of me. I was living in an apartment, and they both, one was a guy, one was a girl. They were both over, and so one of them looked down like, oh, are you doing tarot readings? I'm like, well, I'm supposedly psychic, but I'm not getting anything. And so one of them says, well, maybe you've got the wrong deck. I've got 4 decks. Would you like to look at mine? And the other neighbor says, well, I've got 3. What are the odds?
What?
Right? Like, and so they both came out. Then I'm like, have 8 decks of tarot cards like on my table. One of them did jump out at me. So the deck you use, I learned at that point, is a critical piece, right? And so
yes.
So then I went out and got that deck that day myself and started playing with, and then images, I stumbled into channeling, right? So I tried to see my spirit guides. I was trying to see auras, having zero luck. Nah, nada, you know? But so I'm doing a reading for this woman, a friend. I'm playing around doing readings for friends, right? And you know, and I would throw out, I was trying different layouts, and I would just, like, say I put out 12 cards and I would get hits on maybe 3 of them. I would just talk about what I was getting hits on. If I didn't know, I wasn't going to make anything up. Like, I'm just gonna, because I'm just playing around. I'm just, you know,
right.
practicing.
It doesn't have to be perfect.
No, but so a friend, but it started catching on, and my friends started dragging their friends over, like, you know. So I was doing a reading for someone I'd never met, didn't know anything about. And then all of a sudden I got that she had been sexually molested by her father. And
oh man, like those are such hard messages to bring out too.
Right. And I'm feeling goosies down my arms, on my face, like my whole body. And I'm like, I'm not saying that. Like
I was gonna say,
my
that's what I
rational
do my
mind goes,
back talk too.
uh-uh. I'm not gonna
That's
say
what I
this.
do my back talk too. I'm like, no, no, not me. I don't think I can do that.
And as I'm sitting here struggling with myself, she's like, what are you getting? And I'm like, I'm gonna apologize before. And then I told her what I was getting, and her eyes just got huge. She burst into tears. She goes, how did you know that? I've never told anyone that. And I'm like, then the goosies were on top of, I'm getting again, just telling the story, it's like, I'm like, oh, that must be channeling. Like, cause it was just like, I felt like someone had turned on an energy faucet that was pouring into the top of my head. Right. I didn't
Yeah,
know where the information was coming from. I didn't see spirit guides telling me. It just was like all of a sudden download, right?
that claircognizance kicking in.
So I just started going, okay, that's what I need to shoot for. And I would liken it to like trying to tune a radio station in the dark, and you're like between channels and shh, but you get on a channel, it's like the signal's clear, right? So then it was about being as clear. I would go, I'm a clear and open channel. I'm a clear and open channel. I'm going to
Hmm.
slide my mind aside. I'm going to slide my emotional body aside. And, you know,
But what you went through actually is pretty common, because when you hear psychics, a lot of times they'll say, what I see is blah, blah, blah. Well, maybe they're clairvoyant, maybe they're seeing it, maybe they're talking about what they feel and they're just saying, I see, because that's what every other psychic says. Now, I'm not so clairvoyant. I'm clairaudient and I'm claircognizant and I'm clairsentient.
so
And for the
explain those a
longest
little bit.
time,
Just
when I first
explain what
started
those little,
understanding
yeah.
psychic stuff, I had all these people talking about, well, I see around me. And I thought, I'm not doing this right. Like something's wrong with me. My shit is messed up, man.
Mm-hmm. So
And
explain
then
a
it
little
took
bit
me a
about
while to
these
realize.
clairs. Explain a little bit about the clairs that you have.
Okay, so when I say that I'm clairaudient, that just means that when I am doing a reading, I'll hear things psychically. It's like spirits kind of whispering in my ear. And sometimes if you ever happen to watch any of my videos on YouTube, you'll hear me start to chuckle or you'll see me reacting. A lot of times it's because Spirit has a real good sense of humor and they can be really sarcastic. They're just right on my level with me. And I react. Um, and then for the clairsentient, that just means that I feel a lot of my messages. And so sometimes I'm picking up how they actually feel in their body. Sometimes I'm picking up if they're anxious, like my chest will get really tight. If they have a pain in a certain place, I'll get an indicator of that in my body in that same place, that type of thing. But there's another way that I'm sentient, which means I feel things that is a little harder to understand and a little harder to explain. All I can tell you is I can feel how things look inside of me. I've had people come to me for readings and I've described people who have crossed over. They didn't recognize who was coming in. So I described everything from their hat down to their shoes, and it all came in as how I felt what they looked like. So for me, that's a part of my psychic abilities, and everybody's abilities are a little different, but
Right.
that's a part of mine. And then the other thing that claircognizant is just when you don't know how you know, but you know. And that's the claircognizant. It's just clear knowing. If you want to put it like clear hearing for clairaudience, claircognizant is clear knowing, and clairsentient is clear feeling. If you want to do like a little cheat for how to understand them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Awesome. So you work with people in developing abilities. I do too. So
mhm.
what are some of your tips for your folks when they're wanting to develop their own abilities? They want to get in touch with it and they don't know where to start. What do you say?
Well, sometimes they're really blocked. Like everybody around them is doing great, and they're like, I don't know, I'm not getting anything. Well, I know darn good and well they are, but they just don't know how to recognize it.
Mm,
So usually the first thing, the most basic thing that I explain to people when they come to a class or a workshop is that, we all were spirits before we came into this body. And if you look at what we're like now, We communicate all the time. We send emails, we send text messages, we talk to people in front of us. That's not a new thing. We've always communicated even before we had the bodies. We just had to adjust our communication. But
Mhm,
before we came in the bodies, we were still communicating with other spirits. It's not new.
mhm.
That was what was going on. But when we came into our bodies, we quit paying so much attention to that psychic communication because now we've got a dirty diaper that feels kind of yucky, and maybe mom is still sleeping and we're hungry, and we're paying a lot more attention to our physical body than we are to that spirit stuff. So we kind of forget it. And then it gets pushed away if we remember it still, because it freaks our parents out if we have little imaginary friends. And, it freaks them out if we know stuff that they don't want us to know. So it all just kind of gets pushed down, pushed down, pushed down, at least in our culture, not in every culture.
Right. Sometimes when I'm introducing to someone out in the world and, what do you do? Well, I'm a psychic. Sometimes they get this like blanch white, like, oh, F, it's like, like
Yes.
they're afraid I'm reading their mind or now I know everything about them. And it's like, I can often feel how people are feeling, but I try to, like, I'm a musician too. I sing too, but I don't go around singing all the time. Like, I don't try to tap into other people's stuff. Like, I don't want to know your drama. I don't care. It's
Got
like,
enough of
maybe
my own without yours. Thank you.
but I've had two children that displayed telepathy, which I think is a more rare psychic ability where you really can read someone's mind. Like my oldest, I have six children. So my oldest daughter, when she was like about 3 years old, um, would start out of her mouth what I was thinking. And I was like, oh, and it just would happen so consistently. But she seemed to be la, 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 like totally not aware that she was doing that. Like I don't think she knew she was getting information from my brain or whatever. And
Hmm.
so there never seemed to be an acknowledgement on her part that she was indeed tapped into my brain, right? And so all my kids have showed different abilities, different things, right? So none of the rest of them showed telepathy until my number six, right? Some of the same things out of his mouth, exactly what I'm thinking. And then like he's been a little more aware than any of the rest of mine from the start. I mean, I've evolved, and I think we draw in souls that are a reflection of our level of evolution. So where I was when I had
Yes.
my first one, I was in a completely different place by the time I had my number six. I felt like more like a
Right.
grandparent I had that time. I was 40 years old when I had number six. So I was like, is he aware that he's tapped into my brain? He might be aware. I'm not sure. Like, and so again, it was this week where every day there'd be like right out of his mouth what I'm thinking. I'm like, I really want some validation. Like, I want to know if he's knowing he's doing that, right? I'm not gonna I'm not gonna ask him because that's gonna be too, whatever. So he's about 3, 4. I'm pushing him in a jogging stroller. My shoelace comes untied. And I think to myself, oh, I need to stop and tie my shoe, right? He says to me out loud, he's not even looking at me. He's face forward in the stroller. I'm behind him. He says to me out loud, you wouldn't have to stop to tie your shoe if you had no tie shoes like me. He had Velcro shoes on. And I'm like, nope, he's aware. And
And
kids,
that's actually, that happens with really close friends too. And I've heard of husband and wife couples that happens with too. And usually it is that one person, or sometimes even both, are what I call unconscious competence. They're really good at it. They just don't know. They don't know they're doing it.
right. Yeah. So, I just like I tell people just to start paying attention. A lot of times we know where we've been psychic when we overwrite it. We learn it after fact, and I use this
Yeah.
analogy a lot. You've got your best friend's birthday party coming up on the weekend, and you get to that day and you're like, everything within you does not feel like going. You do not want to go. Your logical rational mind, I can't miss my best friend's birthday party. I have to go. And like,
Right.
so then you force yourself to go. Even the dread, whatever is coming up, is like, ugh. And then, you have an accident on the way to the party and you're like, oh my God, right? Like, I knew I shouldn't be going. So a lot of times you're like, oh, that was your intuition. The better thing would have been to call your best friend up, like, I am so sorry, but I'm going to miss this party tonight. Can I set up a special lunch with you next week so I can just have a one-on-one time and celebrate your birthday? You get
Right.
to still connect with your friend and celebrate the birthday, but it's like, that's just an easy, when other people are gathered is when people most override themselves or for someone else,
Yeah.
oh, come on, do this. No, I don't feel no, come on, come on, you know. So it's like I tell people to pay attention to when you override it. That'll tell you kind of
Yeah.
how and how did that show up for you? What was going on for you when you were getting the information not to do it, right? Or to do it and then you didn't do it. Like, oh man, I got that hit. I should go pick that scratch off, and the person behind me won $1 million. You know what I mean? It's like, you know,
Yeah.
so to start paying
So
attention.
I have a story to tell you about that.
Mhm.
So me and my first husband were truck drivers, and this is way before I
Truck
realized that I
drivers, is
had
what you
psychic
said?
abilities. Yeah.
Okay.
I've been a truck driver. I've been in the Air Force. I've been an ice cream lady. It took me a long time to get to the point that I started doing what I love to do, and I've been doing this longer than I've done anything else ever. But anyway, we were driving, and we had stopped in this place in Ohio. It was a tiny little town. We were at this tiny little truck stop, and we're talking the 90s. Okay, so it's been a while. Um, and I just woke up and we went in and we got breakfast, and I was sitting across the table from her. I said, babe, something's wrong. Something is just really wrong. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't know, but I think we need to call home. So we called everybody in my family, and I have 6 little brothers, so that took a little while. And, you know, called my parents, called uncles. I mean, I was calling everybody trying to figure out what was going on. And then couldn't figure out nothing. So then we started calling his family. We're like, something's up. So we called his family. We went through everybody. Finally, I still didn't feel right. I didn't know what was wrong. And of course, I hadn't started doing the psychic thing. I just knew that I didn't want to ignore this. And finally, we got in the truck. Still didn't know what was wrong. I didn't really know that I should not be getting in the truck, but we got in there. We're coming out of the truck stop and onto the ramp to get onto the highway. And it was like a little 2-lane highway, not an interstate. So a state highway. And so we're coming out onto the highway. There was a guy in a sedan that came up behind us going in like 70 something. And we were maybe at 5 miles an hour because we had a heavy load on him. We were taking a while to chug up the speed, you know? All of a sudden, I feel something in the truck. It just feels like the gear shifted, except I knew my husband had not shifted the gear. And I look over in his mirror, and here's this car. It's stuck underneath that back bumper on the trailer, and it is just fishtailing like crazy.
Mm.
My husband looked back in the mirror, and he thought there was 4 people in the car. He had me stay in the truck. I called for emergency help. He went back to see if the people were okay or not. It was one guy, no seatbelt, and was just flinging around inside that car because he looked down at 70 something miles an hour, looked down to do something with a cassette tape in his car. And when he looked back up, he tried to come around because he didn't have time to slow down. And that's how he got caught. His front corner got caught on that ICC. And he was lucky to be alive.
Mm.
He was straight up lucky to be alive. And that's one of those things that, you know, when you get that feeling and
You don't always, you're right, you don't always know what it is, but it's like, okay, something is happening. I had a similar experience when I was actually, I got a clear, I was coming into an intersection with, and my light was green, but I was coming, everybody who had been sitting there had already gone. So I was coming in kind of late, but it was still green for me. And I got a clear whoa. And so I was like, pulled my foot off the accelerator to have a bicyclist just coming across right then.
oh man.
I would have T-boned them completely if I just had been going through the intersection at the speed that I was going before I got the whoa, you know. And so it's like, and I know that that was my guides. That was not me picking up on, because it's like I heard it. And I'm someone who has not typically been hearing, like that's not where my abilities, but abilities keep growing because in the last couple of years, I have been hearing guides. I have had new guides. I have a what I call a big mouth guide. It'll be right on this shoulder and I'll audibly hear them. But like I've been doing readings 34 years. I haven't been hearing guides say things to me. I've been doing the channeling where just comes information comes through or whatever. I loved ones. The medium work that I do. The first 10 years I was doing readings, I wasn't picking up on anybody's loved ones. It started with a friend of mine that I was actually hanging out with him, and I go like, "Who's Lily?" He's like, "Lily's my grandmother that passed." "Well, why do you ask?" And I'm like, and I just got the goosies again. I'm like, I think she's here with us. And like, it was just weird because it was unlike anything else I'd picked up on psychically. Right. And so it's like, and then I go, "And did you lose a friend when you were like about 12 years old?" He goes, "Yeah, my best friend got hit by a car when he was 12. I'm like, "Okay, so he's here too." And it was like, and again, I was just goosied up. I had no idea I could do that. So like, that's what I noticed, kind of like musical abilities. If you keep practicing, you keep growing as a musician, right? If you keep paying
Exactly.
attention to your psychic abilities, they keep growing and developing, right? They'll
Right.
enhancing. Before I started doing readings professionally in 1988, I've been doing it for a while. I did a past life regression. Someone else regressed me, right? And opened up a portal for me that ever since I received a regression, I could pick up on past life stuff. I would get past life flashes, for myself or other people. It would just come up. So it just seemed to open up something within me. And I've seen that with my clients too, that when I regress my clients, now it's one of the things I do is past life regressions, is that it seems to open up. It's one of the best things for psychic development. People are afraid sometimes, they don't want to like go through the death again or whatever, except you're looking at it more like a movie or an observation. Sometimes you can get a hint of the feelings, but I've never had anybody go through a past life regression and feel traumatized by it. Most people are like, "Whoa." And you usually see a number of different past lives in one regression, but it's something that can just, once I coach people through that. And once they can begin to see and get, and some people start with being visual when they're picking up on stuff. Some people smell something. Some people feel what clothes they have on, or they feel how they're feeling, or, it's like, it's all, everybody tunes in differently. And it's usually kind of an insight into how your abilities show up in terms of even how you begin to start sensing in those other realms. But once you start getting it, it's like, oh, it's like turning on a light switch. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
here's the
Yeah.
light.
And
Right.
everybody's abilities are different. Just like everybody's nose is different from the next person's nose, the abilities are different too.
Hmm.
Usually you start off with about 2 really strong senses, and then the more that you use them, the more everything sort of snowballs and picks up.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say on the topic of everyone is psychic?
Uh, I think that if you want to strengthen your abilities, the best thing you can do is practice, practice, practice. And even if you don't have people to practice doing readings on, it's really easy to find little ways to practice as you go through life. So one of the first things that I started really noticing after I had keyed in on, oh, something's going on here, is that if I lost something, if I set it down somewhere in my house and I just could not remember where, I would just ask Sacred Spirit, because I work with Sacred Spirit much more than spirit guides. I would ask Sacred Spirit, oh, where did I put that? And then my eyes would fall right on it just that fast. And then if I wasn't in the right room, they would nudge me. They would give me a reason to go in the room where it was. And I would walk in to do that. And next thing you know, my eyes would fall right on it as soon as I got in that room and it was within a sight range.
Mhm.
So that's one way to practice. I used to also do this other thing because I had a regular job. Whenever I found out I was psychic, I was doing administrative type work. And one of the things that I used to do is I had to fill out a report every day that showed how much shipping had come out of each of 7 plants in this company that I worked for. And so I had the spreadsheet that I just kind of kept up in the background on my computer. And whenever one of the plants sent me numbers, I would just fill in, their little box with the numbers. And so what I would do to practice is I would try to see if I could predict who is going to be sending me the numbers next. And I would take my cursor and I would roll it over each little box for each location one at a time and just feel how much energy was coming at my hand from the cursor whenever the cursor was over, San Diego's box, or Wyoming's box. And usually I could predict it really well. And the days that I got it wrong, usually I would find out later that whenever I had rolled the cursor over, that office had been, the office that I thought was going to be next had been actually working intently on their paperwork to get to me. And then something came up and they had to go put out a fire somewhere else. So someone else slid in in front of them. But that's another great way to practice. And there's all kinds of little things that you can
Right.
do just in your life
I
to
do
build
that
that
with
in.
like when I'm watching a competition show like The Voice or American Idol or whatever, when they're going to announce who's saved or whatever, like I'll just see if I get, and it's been happening a lot where I'll get the name right before they say it, you know, kind of thing. So that's just a fun way you can play. I suggest people get a journal and just write down the little things. Oh, I just got a flash of Mitch and then he texted me, and just jot it down. Like when you notice you're having, or like I'm having a deja vu feeling right now and I don't know why.
Yeah.
Note the time, note where you are, note the details, because the more you pay attention, right, where you put your attention, that grows. And so just paying attention, where is it showing up, right? And if you're telling
And paying
yourself,
attention to how it comes in, because a lot of times at first you can't tell if it's ego, that you're just hearing something you want to hear or feeling something you want to feel, or if it's really communication. So you got to pay attention to how does that feel, or how did that sound, how did that taste or smell, or whatever the deal is for you. You got to be able to recognize how that feels. And then the thing that actually, even before that, you've got to get your own baseline. How does it feel to be in your body? If you normally have a headache right here, and all of a sudden you get a headache right here, that's probably not a message coming in. But if you get a headache back here,
mm-hmm.
then you know somebody might be trying to get your attention. Of course, you always want to rule out medical stuff too, but that's just an example. Like,
Our
it
bodies can
really
really
helps
be
to know.
maps for sure. Like we could like get, like when I have found that I'm supposed to open my mouth in a crowd, not when I'm doing my work, but I'm in a group somewhere and I'm supposed to say something to the group out loud, I'll get like heart palpitation, kind of anxiety. Like when I used to get a little, when I was younger, I'd be too afraid to say something. But I started noticing a synchronicity with this sort of like anxiety, kind of like a slight anxiety kind of feeling. Like I like start feeling my heart rate. And I'm like, I started identifying that with, this is when I'm supposed to open my mouth. And every single time when I would indeed then say whatever I was getting to the group, whatever group I was in, I would have people come, oh my God, that's exactly what I need to hear. Thank you so much for sharing, or whatever. I would get that
Right.
confirmation back that. So now when I start feeling it, oh, okay, I'm supposed to say something. You know, it's like now I'm clear that signal.
And that's,
yeah.
And that's different for everybody, you know, so you got to pay attention to how do you feel before you're supposed to convey a message. For me, I get super relaxed when I'm out in the crowd, and I'm feeling like, oh, we're fixing to have some fun. And next thing you know,
Spirits
here we
coming
go.
through. Yeah, I was so confused at what was my intuition and what was my head when I first was being told I was psychic. Like I couldn't, what's the difference? I wouldn't get a clarity. And then over time I could really delineate the difference. Like when it's coming from my head, there's more of a rigid, you need to do this, you should do this. There was more of
Yes.
a harsh energy, where if it was my intuition, like, wouldn't you love to do that? Wouldn't it be wonderful if, like, ooh, this is
And the
nice.
head is louder.
Mm.
It's louder. I mean,
And mine always comes with an energy flow. When it's coming from my intuition, it's like it's just like there's an
it's
energy.
subtle.
It's very subtle, very subtle. Well, now
You
it's gotten
got to be
louder.
paying attention, I think, or you've got to at least be, I don't know, I can't say I pay attention all the time anymore, but I can still hear it. But I think that's from, you know, just operating in it so long to be able to pick it up and recognize. It's kind of like after you have a baby, maybe before that you slept soundly through the night. Then after you have the baby and you hear the little, oh, you're awake. It's
Right.
kind of like that.
That's a great
You get used to
analogy.
hearing it.
That's a great analogy. Yeah. So I believe everyone's psychic. You believe everyone's psychic. Everybody can develop abilities. We both do work with individuals to help develop. So if you're feeling like you need a coach, one of us can help you do that work to develop your abilities. That's specifically one of the things that I offer with my clients is psychic development instruction, helping you individually. Let's tune in. Let's see how it shows up for you. Let me look at your chart. Let me just see where I can see that it's naturally popping. You know, I could cheat with the astrology. That to me, like the astrology is cheat sheet. I use it with dating too. Like I don't go out with a guy until I like birthday, time, place.
I need to start doing that.
I like,
And it's funny because I've been mentoring for a while, but I've always been really selective about my mentoring. And I was going to bring this up about the astrology with the Sun and Mercury being conjunct,
mm-hmm.
because just yesterday I updated, went back and rethought my website, and I added mentoring to my website because I've never had it be something that the public can just order before. It's always been kind of by invitation before. So
You do groups
I
and
thought that
classes
was
too up
interesting.
there in the Denver area, right? You do some
I
psychic development
I do
classes.
teach classes at, for heaven's sake, and well, actually the Lakewood location, there's two there, but
Mhm.
I do teach classes, and we're getting ready to start a spiritual circle, which we haven't had there since pre-COVID days. So we're going to be doing that once a month, and I get to facilitate. I'm so excited.
Awesome,
We're also
awesome.
going to do a manifestation circle, or manifestation mastermind is, I think, what we're calling it. And then I've got some other classes coming up. I teach people how to explore their psychic abilities in all kinds of ways. Like I use billets, we use psychometry. We just have a lot of fun there,
Awesome.
exploring, just exploring and finding out, letting people have that chance to practice and see, you know, do they see things? Do they hear things? How does it come in for them?
Right. I think even just being willing to be open to the concept that you are indeed psychic and that you can develop, and just that alone, just being willing to go, because people go, oh, I can't pick up anything psychically. If you tell yourself you can't, the mind goes, oh, shot block.
You're blocking it right out.
Right. And so if you say, okay, I'm willing to be open to how I'm being psychic, I'm willing to discover,
I'm willing to discover
look,
that maybe there's a possibility that I can pick
I'm
some
willing
stuff
to
up
be willing.
somehow. Exactly, exactly. That's kind of all it takes. And
Right.
then the floodgates start to open. And I think
Absolutely.
it really helps too when you're around somebody who's really comfortable with it and you're new. And I can remember when I was new, I was terrified. I didn't know. I really didn't know. I had been told if you were psychic, you'd made a deal with the devil to get your information. So when I first figured out I was psychic, I was racking my brain trying to figure out how come I didn't remember making a deal with the devil. And I was pretty terrified. So
Yeah,
it's
and to
nice
me
to have
that
somebody around.
right, and usually it's religious programming that people come with that fear, and they're afraid
Yes.
something's going to happen to them if they see a psychic too, or people are
Yes.
really afraid that I'm going to tell them when they're going to die. It's like I have never ever gotten when someone's going to die. I don't get when babies are going to be born either. There's certain things that are just mystic. There may be psychics out there who get that. I don't get that. What I like to tell people is like, you're afraid that I'm going to tell you when you're going to die. Guess what? You're going to die. Do I know when? Absolutely not. But mortality rate on this planet is 100%. So just like, you know
But
that,
you know
right?
what? I've had so many people come to me that they went to like the little carnival type psychics that are just for entertainment purposes only, that are not, you know, legit, that have told them, oh, they said I was going to die in like 6 months. I mean, I've heard that more than once. No wonder people are terrified of us,
Yeah,
you
well,
know?
I started off doing readings at psychic fairs. I had to do readings for two psychics to join the Central Texas Parapsychology Association and do readings at the New Age bookstore, and do that was intimidating. But once I started doing readings, I did that for the first like 12 years of my professional experience. And then I got to a point where I remember one day at a psychic fair, I was hearing one psychic go, well, I think blah, 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 blah. I think blah, blah, blah. And I'm sitting there going, I think is your opinion. That's not a psychic
Yes.
reading. And then the other one on the other side was giving me a canned spiel for the first 5 minutes of every 10-minute reading. It was the same. I can look into your eyes and see.
Oh, no.
Oh my God. And like, I was like, done. And I sat there going, how many? There's 30 psychics in the room. Let's see. There is 1, 2.5 readers that I would get a reading from. The
Right.
rest
There's
of them,
professionals, and then there's amateurs that are
anybody
out there
can call
collecting
themselves
money.
a psychic. Everyone's psychic, right? But then in terms of like people put way too much faith in psychics, and not without knowing how they're wired or where they're coming from. And like I've been practicing Buddhist with a spiritual practice for 38 years. So when I started chanting regularly, that really started developing, my abilities really turned on after that, right? So I've always conducted my readings out of a spiritual place. Like I meditate,
Yeah.
chant every day without exception. I plug in to higher self, divine source first. So my readings are coming from a higher vibrational level. They're coming through me. My readings always uplift my clients, even if I'm having to dispense some sort of bad news, which I don't get
Right.
going to be in an accident. I don't get that stuff. The only thing that comes close to that is if I get something, please go to a doctor. I'm feeling there's something going on with your health. I'll get that sometimes. And I'm not going to call that. I'm not a medical person, but sometimes I'll
Right.
feel that, or I'll feel someone's in an abusive relationship and their life's in danger. Like, seriously, this is not cool. like, this is not cool that you keep hanging in this relationship. This can be really dangerous. I'm telling you, please don't keep staying there, but those are the only incidences where I like see danger. Most of the time it's like, yeah, you don't want to let go. I can really see,
Right.
whatever going on. But yeah, most people lift. I feel like I hold a big mirror up for people and
Excuse me.
validate their own intuition. Like, even getting a reading with me, I feel like validates my client's intuition, because they'll have confirmed what they've already been sensing or feeling. And it helps put like,
A lot of times.
it helps, show them where they're, I don't want to make people reliant upon me. I want to help facilitate everyone waking up to their abilities. That to me is like my mission, is that everyone wakes up to how psychic they are. Because if people are listening to their own intuition, it's the internal GPS system for your life. Like, when you listen to your intuition and follow its direction, you're going to be on the best path for your life. You can use it you can develop your abilities and never ever do a reading for someone else. You can use
Right. Yeah.
to let your life just be in this beautiful flow and heading the direction you're supposed to be headed in whatever field of work that you're in, or with your children, or whatever, so it doesn't have to
And
be.
sometimes you get those people that just want to come to you over and over and over, and they get really dependent and they're not living their life. They're just asking you what's going to go on in their life.
Mhm.
Those people, I tell them, I'm like, you know what? We cannot ask the same question twice. I don't care if you have a reading with me every day, but we are not asking the same question every day. We're going to wait 2 months minimum, and then we might check in and see if the energy has changed or not.
Mhm.
But we're not going to be doing this every day,
And I
because
don't,
they're in an unhealthy place, and I get it. But at the same time, I'm not helping them if I am reading for them over and over and over. First of all, Sacred Spirit's going to get sick of it, and he's going to start giving different answers. And now the person's way more confused than when they started. They were in a bad place mentally to begin with. Now they're just like about to jump off the cliff, you know. And secondly, it's offensive to Sacred Spirit. We're basically asking them questions, and then we're saying, oh, well, we don't trust you, so we're going to ask this again.
Mhm.
You're not going to put me in
Yeah.
that position. I work straight. No, you're not
Yeah.
getting me pissed off with my
Yeah.
boss.
I'll lovingly call out my clients. It's like, do you realize that this is the thing you've looked at every time? So what is it that you're having trouble digesting with this information? Like, what do you not want to believe it? Do you not want, like, what's going, and I always get it with each person, what's going on. So let's transition now into doing readings for everybody. So I'm going to do what I usually do on these videos, which is I'm going to do a 1-card reading for all the signs. So what are you going to bring to the table? We're going to start with Aries. I'm going to do my 1-card reading for Aries for the week. And then what are you going to do for Aries?
I want to do something a little bit different, and I want to do something helpful. So I don't want it to be a copycat of what you're doing. And I'm really big into manifestation lately. So I think I'm going to be pulling some cards, probably 2 or 3 cards, probably 3 cards for each sign. Best manifestation advice, what to focus on for this week as far as reaching goals or targets.
Okay.
So it's going to be helpful, even though we're pre-recording this, because Spirit is not limited by time or by space.
Yeah, even if you're watching this 2 or 3 weeks from now, you're watching it at the right time for you to get information you
And
need.
it's going to be helpful before you hear me get to your sign to kind of think in your mind and get it set. What target or what goal do I want to hear about, so that you know what this reading is actually going to apply to? So have that set in your mind first. Don't wait until I start talking and then you're trying to figure out, well, is it one of 5 things? No.
Mm-hmm.
Set the intention that this is what the answer is going to be
What do I
about.
need direction around, or what do I want? Yeah, what do I want to see? Yeah. Okay,
Yep.
so we're going to start with the Aries. So
Whoop, whoop. Here we go.
and I use the Osho Zen Tarot deck. You can tell what deck you're using when you begin to start too. So this is I have like 30 decks over here, and I just use this one. If I find one that works better than this, I'll probably use it. But this is like it's the easiest deck to teach other people with. You don't have to know. They're self-explanatory usually. So great to channel with.
Is this the one that you learned on? The one that stuck out to you when people had
no, that was the Aleister Crowley. That was the Thoth deck. This is one that's come in probably maybe after I've been doing readings for about a decade or so, but I've been using the same deck for a couple decades. I always like wear it out, give them to someone, and then
right
the deck. Right. Yeah. So it just, to me, I tell people who want to learn tarot to be free for what it's speaking to. What is it telling you? And go with the deck that you like the images on, kind of thing. All right, let's see here for the Aries. The playfulness card is what I've got for the Aries. So this is about tapping into joy. What brings you joy, Aries? Like, follow the bliss, follow the joy. Like, this week should be about what lights you up, right? What makes you happy? What brings you joy? If you're having to force yourself into something, that's not what this is talking about. This is about bringing out the playful spirit, the childlike spirit. Like, what did you want to, like, some people are like in their 60s and still don't know what they want to do when they grow up. Like, what lit you up when you were younger? Like, people come to me and they like, I have no clue what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, well, what brings you joy? Like, is it being outside? Is it doing something artistic, creative? Is it cooking? Is it gardening? Is it tending animals? Is it helping someone else? Everyone's different in terms of what brings you joy. But the playfulness card is also about lightening up. Like, it can be so intensive and so heavy duty, and like it's easy to just get bogged down. And Aries can really just get super depressed if they don't have their chi flowing. Aries is ruled by Mars. Mars is the god of taking action. And so if Aries are not moving in some way, you can really have your energy just like you end up numb and catatonic because you can't. So getting the chi flowing a little bit, going out for a little walk around the block, dancing, putting on music and dancing to your favorite 80s music, 70s music, whatever. My son was playing the new Kendrick Drake rap album in the car on the way home tonight. Like, it's like a whole genre I don't know anything about, but he was just grinning, so whatever lights your fire, right? Whatever brings you joy. Who brings you joy? Reaching out to the people this week that are going to make you laugh, that are going to make you feel good. Maybe going out of your way to go watch comedy, going out of the way to play with a child, go swing on a swing set at a park. You know what I mean? Get in touch with your inner child somehow and light that fire and go after the joy. Don't be afraid. People get real self-conscious and worry about what other people think about. F that. Do what makes you feel joy. Even if you're doing it by yourself, if you have a cohort that you can count on to make you laugh, this is the person that is your ride or die, call them up saying, hey, I need you to make me laugh. Or just even in the conversation, because this is about laughter. It's about joy. It's about playfulness. It feels like it's lighthearted. It feels like it's going to be a great week. Aries, your home sign planet is moving into your turf. You should feel like go time. It's like the countdown and the person's waving the flag to the green flag. It's time to go. Time to put your energies into what brings you joy, what lights you up, what makes you laugh, what is fun. What is fun for you? That's the question I would ask you to chew on. What is fun? What brings you joy? What makes you smile? And do that this week. That's what I have for the Aries.
So I wasn't going to do this. I was just going to look at my own cards, but something definitely came through as you were talking, which is the idea of most of the Aries that I know personally are pretty much very light, and they try to keep things light and playful around them as much as they can. And what I was actually picking up is, even if there's somebody around you who is trying to drag it down and make you be really serious, don't pay so much attention to them. Keep it on the playful side. That is your normal nature. So allow yourself to be you, and don't beat up on yourself just because somebody else doesn't understand who you are. All right, so let's look at cards for manifesting. By the way, I am using the traditional Rider-Waite. I have I haven't counted in a long time. I've got a lot of ducks over here, but this was the one that jumped out for the video. So this is what we're using today.
Perfect.
So I just pulled 3 cards really quick. Best advice for manifesting. Let's get in the camera, Miss Amista. Okay, so 7 of Pentacles showing up in reverse to start with. Lovers also in reverse. And Wheel of Fortune. So your best advice here basically is telling me for whatever it is that you guys set in your mind that you want to be manifesting, all you Aries people out here, and this is going to be good for sun and for rising. First of all, don't count on a whole bunch of money coming right in. If you're expecting to have a payday, don't be counting on using that payday towards your manifesting. It looks like you may get a rain check on that payday, actually. Also, be confident with what you're trying to accomplish and what you're trying to manifest. With my Lovers card in reverse, this says you've got this all by yourself. And I think that you're kind of looking at, oh, I need to collaborate. I can't do this or I can't do that part of it. Nay, Spirit's saying you have got this. And we end with the Wheel of Fortune. So this is basically saying, don't count on that money coming in before it gets there. Don't be leaning on somebody else to do part of this for you. And once you have sort of cut those expectations, that's when things start to go good for you.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? I think it was Tiger Woods said, the harder I work, the luckier I get.
Yeah,
this
and
is
I'm
you guys putting in that effort.
To play off that, it's like, to me, the Lovers in reverse is about self-love. You know, it's about, oh, if I love me, then I've got everything I need. If I make myself happy, I'm not looking to someone else to make me happy, then
Right.
It's all like an inside out job. And so Aries has everything they need this week to be happy, to manifest what they need. We always get what we need. We may not always get what we want. That's the other thing that I was getting with the money thing with you. Is like, oh, okay, if you don't get it this week, you don't need it this week, right? Like, it's okay.
Right. It'll come in handy when it shows up.
It'll show up. It's coming is what I get too. Like the money that you're wanting, like some Aries are wanting the money to come in. It's coming. It's coming.
When that card comes up in reverse, it is coming in.
Yeah, the more you just trust it's going to come into the divine right time, then it's going to come in when it needs to come in. So
exactly.
I like piggybacking off of you. That's fun.
It's fun.
Yeah. We'll go to the Tauruses next.
Okay.
And you're right. I always say sun, moon, rising, and stellium. I didn't say that this week, but you know, if you've got your sun, moon, rising in the sign, or if you've got stellium, which is 3 or more planets in the sign, it can be appropriate for you. A lot of people don't know their rising signs.
That's true.
They don't know the time they were born. They don't know their rising.
So I wanted to say too, because whoops, I'll let you go. I'll say it later. I was going to say something about the eclipses actually earlier, because I've got a stellium in Scorpio. And I think for those of us who have strong Scorpio, especially a Scorpio eclipse ends up being a little bit easier. Sometimes we end up being like placeholders for somebody else who's going through stuff. We end up being like that support person. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that happens on other eclipses too for us Scorpios, because we've got that Pluto energy. We're doing the transformation thing. It's kind of our natural, this is where we are. So we end up really being placeholders quite a bit. When we have ours, it can be kind of unpredictable and we can take it hard, but it usually is not with the eclipse. We usually end up being that support person.
Good point. It's interesting you bring up the Scorpio with the when we're talking about Taurus, because Scorpio is across the wheel from Taurus.
Yes.
So often, wherever you're weak, you can draw strength from the sign directly opposite you too. So, you know, that Taurus Scorpio axis, no coincidence that you're bringing that up, because the Tauruses may have that same experience, because these eclipses.
That makes a lot of sense. And I'm a Taurus rising too, so that might be feeding into it.
Yeah, cool. All right. So Taurus is, I have the creativity card. I see Taurus as one of the most creative signs anyway. So almost all the Tauruses I do readings for are creative in some way. And sometimes I go, oh, you're very creative. And I'll get a, like, because people will think of like, oh, I can't draw or I can't, but it's like, and then I will walk into a Taurus's home. I'm like, you're a Taurus, right? Because like, you know, because it's like the home is beautiful. It feels great. Or they prepare food in a beautiful way, or the way they clothe themselves is like a lot of attention to detail kind of thing. But this creativity card is about, let those creative jujus flow in whatever way that you are creative. And this can be even discovering new ways of creativity this week, Tauruses. But this is like, pick up the pen and draw, pick up the paints and paint, pick up the instruments and play, turn on the music and dance, you know, design that whatever, you know, cook the whatever, garden, all these things are creative, you know. Again, like, it can show up in so many different ways. Even how you just do your life can be creative, you know. Like, I looked at a Taurus who said, I don't have any artistic creativity, but they had like a date book they were writing, flipping at their next date, and they were like, even how they were drawing in their date book. I'm like, you're telling me you're not creative? I see purple ink, I see green ink, I see blue ink. I think you're creative in ways you don't know. Like, you know, so
Right.
it's about tapping in to your creative abilities, letting the flow go, channeling creativity. Maybe, so, you know, I write music. And so there's times when I'm like crafting a song by thinking of a topic and writing about that topic. And because writing is another thing, it could be creative. And so I can write a song where I get a theme, I'm going to write about this theme, and I craft the lyrics out of that. Then there's when I channel a song, and the song will just download, come through me, and I'm like writing it out. Like, I can write a song in 20 minutes or an hour and a half or whatever. And it's coming through me instead of from my brain. So with this, I'm getting what moves through you. What do you need to open up and allow to come through you? Is it writing? Is it music? Is it dance? Is it whatever? You fill in the blank. But this is a week to let your creativity flow. And maybe some of this movement into Aries can get you moving with some creative projects that maybe you've been procrastinating about, or you haven't been putting energies towards. Like, one little baby step. It doesn't have to be a lot of it, just moving the needle a little bit. I tell people to get out a puzzle and do it if they are feeling blocked creatively, you know. Well, like, shift gears. You want to be practice your instruments, but you got all this avoidance. Like, do something else creative, and sometimes that can unblock the chi and get it flowing in a new way. Do a diamond painting, do an adult coloring book to get the creativity flowing, because ideas, when you turn off the I can't, it opens up ideas for I can. Okay, your turn.
Definitely. And that, for me, reminds me of like the Empress card. I don't know if that's really what they intended or not, but that's associated with Taurus. So for me, that just kind of says you're in your mojo this week. Those of you who have Taurus in your house predominantly. So things are working well, things are at a nice flow, things are just, for me, when somebody is in their mojo, when that type of card comes up, you know, they get to do what they feel the most comfortable doing, and it just flows very easily. So really nice card. Exactly. Yeah. Working the mojo. All right, Taurus, let's see about best advice for manifestation. Whoop, 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 whoop. Okay. So you guys have the Chariot as your first card. We like that one. You have the Lovers showing up as your second card. So far, 2 major arcana out of 3. And then you've got the Seven of Swords. Now, I read the Seven of Swords a little differently than a lot of other people, so don't anybody trip on it. Okay, so Chariot. I feel like whatever it is that you're trying to manifest is going to take some movement. Okay. Now, I think that for some of you with Taurus in your chart, this movement takes the form of exercise in some way: walking, jogging, jumping jacks, old school exercises, whatever. But there is something here about movement. Move your body. You may be going to the gym to move. You may be going hiking to move with the Chariot as well. But there's definitely movement that shows up as the very first piece of advice for manifesting right now. Now, with the Lovers, you don't want to do this by yourself. Get yourself an accountability partner or get yourself a travel partner, maybe even both wrapped together in one, but you don't want to do this by yourself. And with the Seven of Swords, I think it's going to be important to make a strategy. Give yourself a command about this and follow through with it. What do you have?
I'm feeling like that people may be moving forward in relationships because of the Lovers and the Chariot. There could be like movement in relationships, like feeling like, oh, let's do this thing, or I'm going to reach out and see if they want to if they're, just like it feels like it's motion and movement towards relationships too, or that you're with a partner and like, hey, let's go do something different together. I was getting like cars with the Chariot. I feel like, Mercury's retrograde, so be careful in your car. Like, give yourself extra time to plan your trips. But it feels like you may want to actually get in your car and drive. Like it may be like, maybe that's where some creative juju can download it. You can go take a drive through the country or whatever, and just, or take a drive with your significant other, or maybe you're driving to a significant other. I don't know, but those are the pieces that popped out to me for those.
Very cool.
Okay, so let's move on to the Geminis.
Whoop, whoop, here we go.
Those twins, and now with the sun in your sign, you have an illumination. Happy birthday to the early Geminis. Let's see here. I think Geminis is one of the hardest signs to be. I'm just going to be honest, because it's like twins. It's like there's two different parts of the mind you have to reconcile. And with Mercury retrograde, Geminis and Virgos can really be affected the most. It doesn't have to be negatively. Again, it can make you rethink things and like help you kind of get out of your brain and your brains.
I think it might make them like me rethink things in a more solid way, because the natural way of Gemini to be is kind of on the swinging door about how they think about things anyway. Mm-hmm. The retrograde might help bring some solidity to that.
Right. Okay. So I've drawn the schizophrenia card. So this card doesn't mean you're cray cray for me. To me, this is like
glad we clarified that.
I mean, there are some Geminis that may seem some cray cray, but I'm talking about schizophrenia is usually when you feel torn down the middle. Like there's a decision to be made. And do I do this or do I do that? You feel torn. Usually this card indicates that you're going to be making a decision. You're going to be making a move. You're going to be separated. You're going to be leaving that job. You're going to be changing your home. Like the people ask, well, am I going to stay in this relationship? And this card comes up. I'm like, doesn't look like it. It's like, is the other person going to stay? Like, doesn't look like, looks like they're totally divided, totally torn apart about it. This is like making a decision. So how do you make your decision? Not by batting it back and forth between the two heads, turning off the heads completely and listening for what the download. What do I feel guided to do with this? Where am I feeling lit up? What decision feels right? Not what makes the most logical, rational sense. Which one feels like, which one am I feeling called to? And if you need some clarity, you can get a reading. We can look at the two different options. Okay, if you were to move to Cleveland, it looks like this. If you were to move to Boston, it looks like this, so it's like in the future is always potential and possibilities. You create the future by what you're doing today. But this is like stuck in a place where you're like, oh no. Like there's a cavern below. But look, I look at the blue skies here and the two birds flying. Like you can get insights and downloads from your spirit guides. You can get help. You don't have to figure it out. You can just ask the universe for direction too. Make it very loud and clear for me. Just confirm it. Bring me the confirmation. Bring it. I ask to have things confirmed 3 times sometimes. Like, okay, let me get my guidance, bring it in really clear and confirm it 3 times. Thank you very much. So you don't have to stay in this place. It won't feel like cray cray forever. But definitely if you go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, if you feel split down the middle with something, yeah, you can start having delusions. Taking yourself off track. You get anything off of that?
I think that it's going to be really easy this week to be pulled by distractions from whatever your priorities are. And the advice that you gave is really the best advice that you could give, is just you have to kind of calm down. You can't be running around taking care of this and this and this. You have to sit with it for a few minutes and just see what comes in, what actually feels right, and figure out, okay, how am I going to deal with these distractions so I can focus on the priorities? Let's see what kind of cards you get.
Like making a list. Let me make a list of pros and cons. If you're up in the brain, sometimes it's just getting it out of the brain by writing too can be helpful. Like, let me make my list of pros. Let me make my list of cons. If I was to stay in this relationship, what are the pros of this relationship? What are the cons about the relationship? Looking at like that logical rational mind can be soothed by going, oh, look, the list of pros is not as long as the list of cons. And
and I think too, that whole idea of just sitting with it, letting spirit talk to you. Because sometimes when we're even making a list of pros and cons, we can miss some stuff and it can be big. Then we catch it like 3 days after we've made our decision and just regret it. So always, even if you're doing a list of pros and cons, still sit, see what spirit says.
Sit with it. Yeah. Have
Yep.
it in your gut. Take it to your dreams. Ask for guidance in your dreams.
Geminis. We basically have something very similar coming up on these 3 cards is what I was picking up off of Karen Marie's. So what we have is 2 of Cups showing up in reverse. Page of Cups showing up in reverse. I feel like I'm really hitting food hard. You'll understand why I say that in a minute. And Knight of Pentacles. So, here's the thing, Geminis, you're getting tied up in doing some things that you don't feel very good about, or at least that's the temptation. The beautiful thing about getting the reading ahead of time is that you have free will. So if you see something coming in that you don't like, you've got a heads up. You can head it off at the pass and change the energy into something that is much more pleasant. So this first card just tells me you're getting tied up in some things that you don't really like anymore. At one point, yes, there was the attraction, there was the chemistry, whether it's a person, a project, an activity, whatever it is, you used to be really into it and you used to want to spend more time and energy on it. Now you're kind of like, I could take this or leave this, and I kind of think I'd rather leave it. So that's what this card really tells me, is that you're not really leaving, but you're not feeling really good about being there. So you're putting energy and effort into stuff that you're not really thrilled about anymore. Okay. Problem is, it's taken a lot of time for you. With my Page of Cups coming up in reverse, you may be skipping meals just trying to keep up with everything that is actually going on, even though you're not so thrilled about doing it. Okay. So delegate. Delegate this stuff to somebody who enjoys it more if you have that opportunity. And then the last thing that comes up with this Knight of Pentacles, this says, you know, it's time to set your priorities, really think them through, and then start taking that action just one step at a time. Knight of Pentacles is the slowest moving knight, so we're not expecting to have massive breakthrough right now. But if we start changing to where we're not spending energy on things that are not important to us, that are not nourishing us, literally even, and that we're not happy about, then that allows us to start taking action towards those things that are priorities and get us into better alignment with where we really want to be heading with our life and what we want to be manifesting or creating this week. So cut out the distractions. You're not enjoying them anyway. Let them go.
I was getting this image of like a cat. He'll just go, you know, like look at it from a, you know, my cat will sometimes like lean over and look at me from upside down. I'm like, what? Like, is like, do you like that perspective? Like, and it feels like a change of perspective is needed, you know, like how could you look at it with different eyes? And, you know, and yeah, if you're still chewing the gum and it's long lost its flavor, spit it out. That's when it's like, it's over, you're done. Yeah, some of you are over it, you know, is what
Definitely.
I was getting. You're like, it's like, no, it's okay to let it go and trust that it'll be replaced with something better, whatever the it is what I get with that. So, all right, let's move on to Cancers. You slippery little fish, you. Actually, it's the crab. You know, I always see like Cancers though is the inside of the crab. I know they have that pincher on them. You know, most Cancers have that pincher, but I guess because I always see right through to the.
You see them as like the mushy having feelings
part in the
cards.
middle. Yes, exactly.
I know exactly where you are.
Having the difficulty setting up boundaries for others and like doing everything for everyone. That's what I see Cancers. That's the classic general. Yeah. not giving enough to self and giving too much to others. That's sort of a classic with cancers. They have to learn how to like, oh, it's okay to just tend to me. It's okay to nurture me. What a concept.
Right.
Okay, I've got the change card. Change. So this is about a big shift, So I feel like you guys are having a change in perspective with the Mercury retrograde and all the shifting of planets and energies. Like it's like you're coming to ends of cycles and beginnings of new ones. You're shifting, changing up. Maybe it's your diet, maybe it's your exercise, maybe it's a meditation or spiritual program that you're making a change. Maybe you're changing up a relationship or a job. But it's like what's in the middle here is this Tao sign, right? It's the yin and the lightness and the dark within. It's not having to run. We all have the dark side, right? I hate to break it to you, but we all have the light side as well. It's like just really balancing out, like not beating up on yourself too much, like really acknowledge, yeah, I got stuff still I need to change. It's okay to have to-do lists of personal growth that hasn't happened yet. It's okay to not be it's okay to be a work in progress and a masterpiece at the same time. I mean, that's one, it's like, it's okay. Like this is about being okay with wherever you are. And it feels like you're not where you want to be yet. You're in the middle of school. You're in the middle of a divorce. You're in the middle of whatever it is. You're not how do you enjoy the journey? How do you enjoy the process? How can you enjoy today? And what is it that you want to shift and change? What are you tired of in your life and you want to shift it and change it? Like, do you need support around that? Do you just need to make a firm determination? Toss that up to guidance. Do I need support? Is this something I can do by myself? Like it depends, depending on where it is. I'm getting all this magical sort of spiritual energy on the outside. So I feel like you've got the universe conspiring to help you change. I feel like you don't have really choice. Like it's either change or be changed is what it feels like. It's better if you initiate. Like cancers are cardinal signs. You like to get it started yourself. So it's better that you go ahead and get it started rather than the universe like forcing you into a shift or a change. But this feels positive to me. It feels exciting, feels new. You could have a change of scenery. That could even just be like going on a vacation or like driving out of the town that you're living in for about an hour just to shift the dynamic, to get some new perspective. You may have unexpected change coming in that you weren't planning on. This could happen this week. It's okay. Whatever it is, it's okay. You're okay in the middle of a yucky process. You're in the middle of a great process. You're in the middle. If it's not quite baked yet, it's okay. You're okay exactly where you are, and wherever you are, it's going to be changing. You're going to be transforming it. You're going to be moving into a better version of yourself. That's what it feels like to me. It's like you're on the journey. How can you just stop and appreciate yourself right now, where you are? You can't change what you've happened 2 minutes ago, 2 days ago, 2 decades ago. None of that can change, but you have the power right now in this moment to change your future by what you shift and change today. Return.
Exactly. I feel like they're just at a pivot point where their perception about something is going to really change, and it's going to shift a paradigm for them. And a paradigm controls how we behave about something. And as we shift how we behave about something and how we understand something to be, then the universe sort of meets us with that new expectation of how we expect things to be. I do think it's really positive. And I think something is happening that is making cancers kind of hit that pivot. There's something going on that they're saying, oh, I don't want to go this way anymore. I want to go that way. It's kind of like, for those of you who have military background, especially in the Navy, if you think about the oblique step, where you just kind of turn at an angle, it's not a strong right hand or a strong 90-degree turn, but it's at that half angle. This is what this looks like to me. Like there's some adjustments being made. I don't feel like there's anything being really thrown out, but something is being adjusted so that it goes in a more positive way. And it's all going to start with your perspective. Something's happening that is changing your perspective and just making you start stepping in a little bit different direction that's more positive and more happiness making for you. I really like it.
When you were saying that too, I was getting like a chiropractic adjustment, like getting acupuncture where your chi gets aligned. Like you may want to get some body work of some sort this week, some Reiki, where you do get some help in realigning yourself. Yeah.
right? That could be too. That could be what actually is what creates that pivot, that trigger for it. So let's look at some cards here. Cancer, best advice for manifestation, your goals or your dreams. Death card shows up in reverse. We're not scared of it. Don't anybody get scared of it. Three of Swords also shows up in reverse. Same thing. I like this card much better right side up than upside down. So, or I mean upside down than right side up. Excuse me, got that all inverted. And we have the Two of Pentacles showing up in reverse. So here's the thing. For me, when the Death card comes up in reverse, this just tells me that there's something going on. And I'm feeling like for you Cancers, this is somebody in your sphere of influence. I'm not talking to you about this happening to you, but somebody who influences you is having a situation where they know they need to be making a change, and they know that that change would improve things for them as they move forward with their life. However, even though they know for sure it's going to improve one area of their life, and that one area may be your relationship with them, they don't know how it's going to impact the rest of their life, and they're a little bit terrified. Okay. So because of that terror, they have not broken through the terror barrier here. And so they're not ready to make this change, even though they know it would be beneficial in some ways. So you've got somebody in your sphere of influence who needs to make this change. They're not. They're digging their feet in and fighting it. Okay. So with my Three of Swords showing up in reverse right after that, what this is telling me is that the best thing you can do at this point is accept that this is the situation. This is the best that this person is able to do right now. It might really not feel great to you, but it's the best that they can do right now. And for you to manifest what you need to manifest for yourself, it's going to take actually accepting that, okay, well, this is the situation. And once you accept the reality of this moment, that allows you to come to a point where you can evaluate it very realistically and decide, what do I want to do with this situation as it stands right now, instead of what us water signs like to do, looking at the potential and acting like the potential is here and live in this fairy tale land that ends up getting us hitting the concrete really hard at some point. So you want to accept, okay, this is this person's best that they can do. What am I going to do to interact with them in a way that's healthy and that makes sense for me? Am I going to keep interacting with them? Is this my boss that's toxic and I kind of have to till I can put in my 2 weeks notice? What am I going to do with this situation? Because it's not getting better. It's just not getting better, not in the near future. Now, that last card with that Two of Pentacles in reverse, that to me talks about dropping something that used to be a priority. So Cancers, if you used to have a priority of making this person healthy, we're healing them up, which we water signs love to do. We don't want to really spend time with you unless we think we can fix you. Not until we fix ourselves. We just really don't. Then it's time to drop that. That cannot be a priority and still have us move forward productively in our lives. So we have to drop that priority of fixing this other person, accept them for who they are, and figure out, what are we going to do about them as the person that they are in front of us. What'd you get?
Well, that image of the swords in the heart, right? To me, when it's upside down, then the swords could fall out wherever you've been wounded in the heart. When the card's upside down, to me, the swords come out. You're no longer
Yes.
being wounded. It's time to heal the wounds now.
Yes. And that's that acceptance. When you have that acceptance, then it quits hurting you so much. You're not taking it personal anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You just know this is the best this person can do.
Right.
And it does. It
Sometimes
allows you to feel better.
just how a situation feels, and you just get that, even though it feels awful, but that's the familiar, and the fear of moving into the unknown. It feels scary, but it's like, when you're hurting, you deserve to feel good instead of feel hurting. So it's like, it's okay. Let the swords come out. Do whatever you need to do to nurture and heal yourself. Take care of your heart. That's what I see with those. Oh,
Sweetness.
all right, we'll move on to the Leos.
Leo, Leo.
The little
That's my
lions.
dad's first name,
Oh, is it?
is Leo. Yep. He's a Sagittarius, though.
Someone was confused.
I actually showed him what I did for a living one time back when I was doing weekly videos, and I set him up to watch what I was thinking was his video. No, I had him watch the Leo video, and he got up and he said, wow, that really did make sense. And then it was like 20 minutes later, I realized I didn't even put him on Sagittarius.
So I've drawn the maturity card. This is my self-care card. To me, this card is about nurturing and taking care of you. What does that mean for you? Does that mean tub soaks with Epsom salts? Is that essential oils? Is that making sure that you're going for a run? Is it going to get body work? Is it buying yourself flowers? Is it eating healthy all week? Like, what is self-care to you? This is like, to me, you're feeling depleted, you're run down, you're overwhelmed, like it's been really tough times for everybody. So what is dropping the oxygen mask to you? What brings you life? Like maybe you need to do some concerted breath work. You can do some extra meditation. Maybe you just need to read a novel and let your mind focus on something else. What feels delicious and awesome to you in a way that is boosting your health, boosting your spiritual energy, boosting how you feel about yourself? This is an inside out job. This is not like, you know, unless self-care is going to lay on someone else's table while they give you a massage or whatever. This is about caring for you, you know, and it could definitely involve healers. Like what makes you feel integrated and put back into yourself? It's like, you know, and I always notice that there's a lot of flowers on this card, you know, even the person's head is made out of flowers. So there's something that's also flowering. It's kind of like, it feels like it's the break time before something really blooms. And so it's time to like recharge, rejuvenate. So then you can go out with, you know, full steam and let something, we can't operate at our best if we're depleted. And that's what I'm getting. It feels like there's a depletion energy. And you just need to fortify. What fortifies you? What makes you feel better? What makes you, it may be extra naps or extra sleep, like whatever it is to make yourself feel better. It's like, it's okay to do self-care. Self-care is not selfish, you know, and Leos are usually better than most signs about taking care of themselves. Some people think they're only think about themselves, you know, but this is not the ego saying, I'm going to go gambling. I'm going to go, you know, no, this is about what really is care for you. What do you get?
So for maturity was the word on it, right?
Right.
So I feel like you said, I think that the Leos are feeling pretty depleted right now. What I'm getting is also it's time to step up to the plate and take accountability for what is going on for Leos in their lives right now. I'm sort of getting that it's really tempting right now to just kind of play the victim card and say, well, I don't really have control over what's going on in my life. And since I don't have control, it's all Sharon's fault that I feel terrible right now and I'm feeling depleted. And so it's time to kind of step up to the plate and say, you know what? I'm in control of my schedule. I'm in control of my projects. I'm in control of my energy and where I focus it. And it's time to really recognize that having that accountability for yourself can be kind of tough at first if you're used to letting other people make those decisions, but it is so empowering, so empowering. And it's really just time to step up to the plate and say, yeah, this is my responsibility to figure out my schedule. I'm going to take care of that now. Thank you. I'm sure you had good intentions, but I need to take care of me. So I got this.
What's
So
coming to
that's what I
mind for
got.
me is when you're sharing that is when I first started being introduced to Buddhist principles, I was told that your environment is a reflection of yourself. So whatever's going on around you, you can't blame the people around you for your karma. It's all your karma. So there's good news and bad news on that It doesn't mean to beat yourself up for why this is happening. It's like you said, taking accountability. All right, this is my karma. So what can I do to change this? Because when you change the inside, then the environment that's reflecting you also shifts. So it's about owning it without beating yourself up. To me, that's the
Exactly.
key. Because if you beat yourself up, you'll just avoid it. Like if you're giving
Yeah.
yourself a hard time about it, you won't address it. Whereas you're just like, okay, you're right, I did it. It's kind of like someone who can really admit they're sorry and genuinely mean it. That's a strength, you know.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's like saying, okay, I did this to myself. So what am I going to do now to shift the trajectory moving forward? Can't change the past,
Exactly.
but I'm going to change the first. Okay.
And it's so empowering when we take responsibility for that because, now um, we don't feel like crap because of Sharon. We can change it up.
Exactly.
All right, so let's look at your cards here, Leo, Leo, Leos. World card shows up in reverse. Guys, reversals are not necessarily bad, so don't anybody get too stressed out. 8 of Cups showing up right side up. And the Moon card. All right, so here's the thing, Leos. I feel like you've got somebody around you who is kind of changing the goal, changing the target all the time. And your target may be, how do I make this other person happy for this to actually show up as your best advice to manifest your own goal or your own target? So you may have been kind of looking at somebody else and how can I manifest, how can I make them happy? What do I need to do to make them happy? The only problem with that is, what if they change the goalpost all the time? Which is exactly what's going on with the world card in reverse. They're adjusting their happiness. They are having you jump through all kinds of different hoops all the time. My first bit of advice here is you may want to check in on what you want to manifest besides making this other person happy. Like, really, what is your priority? But going on with this for this moment, for today, with that 8 of Cups, it is time to sort of walk away from this idea of jumping through hoops to make somebody else happy when they keep changing the hoops on you. Got to walk away from that. Now, the Moon, you're walking away quietly. You're not making this a big fanfare. It's almost like you're doing it in secret with the Moon card coming up. You're just leaving quietly. You're not making it a big dramatic, chaotic thing. You're just, letting that person drift off and take a nap, and then you're just walking out the back door. No worries. Okay. Paul Simon, 50 ways to leave your lover. You can figure it out. You don't have to tell them what is actually going on or why you're doing this. And that's really with the Moon card. This is something to hold close to your chest, which, if I'm gonna be really honest, because cards say a lot. Not only the cards that show up in front of you on the table, but the cards that don't show up say a lot too. And when you've got a situation where Spirit is advising you to walk away from making somebody else happy and don't say anything about it, just do it, then you probably have this somebody else that you're making happy that has some kind of strong narcissistic tendencies, that if you actually try to talk to them about something that would be more healthy in the relationship or something that would make more sense for you, they're going to be pulling out the emotional blackmail and the gaslighting, and next thing you know, you're going to get sucked right in. Otherwise, Spirit would say, let's have a conversation about this. Let's fix this. That's not what Spirit's saying. Spirit's saying, this is not what you need to be manifesting, and you need to get out of this situation quietly. What do you have?
To me, the world card upside down is kind of like, you may feel like your world has been turned upside down. You may feel like the rug's been pulled out from underneath you and like, well, I didn't plan it like this. I didn't expect it to look like this. To me, the Moon card is about listening to your intuition and trusting your own inner voice, and whatever you're getting is the right thing. Like if you're worried about the other person, if you get clear downloads about what's right for you, it is the right thing for the other person as well. Even if they go kicking and screaming and squawking about it, right? It is you just have to get clear about, to me, the moon is about getting clear, getting your insight that you know what your action is. And then it is the best action for the people in your life if you're listening to your inner guidance. Because otherwise there's some sort of manipulation or enmeshment or something going on, so. But it feels like it can feel overwhelming right now too. And like, it's not what you expected it to be. Again, self-care, listen to your intuition.
Yes.
It's all going to be okay. You can do it. You can do it. Okay. Virgo. We'll go on to the Virgos. Also a sign that can really feel jacked around by Mercury retrograde. Sometimes the Mercury retrograde, when you're so much up in your head, the reversal puts you more into your intuitive body instead of in your head. It kind of can reverse the polarities somewhat.
Well, if it helps you rethink and reevaluate, sometimes that's really beneficial.
Mm-hmm. So I've got the fighting card. This is, you could be literally fighting with someone. More often than not, this is an inner struggle. Sometimes the inner struggle gets spilled onto the battlefield as well. There's like this inner tug of war. You could be struggling with something within yourself. The fists are tightened. It's just kind of like the shell, the armor is up, feeling like you have to protect yourself. You don't feel safe here. This is not okay. Or something's already happened in the past and you just keep replaying it over and over and over again in your mind. Like the fighting is gone, but you just like, the resentment is just seething still. So there's a need to clear this out of your physical body, clear it out of your life. Anger as a motivator is never a good thing. Just saying. You can hurt yourself if you're walking around with these spiky things on your arms, it's like, even when you have armor on, it's like, ouch. It just feels like, look at this poor little face here. I just feel like extra love and compassion is needed. I feel like the anger, what's coming up is anger is sad's bodyguard. It feels like what's underneath the anger is some sadness and some grief. And sometimes it's a lot easier just to be pissed off about something than to get in touch with the fact that really hurt. That did not feel good. So I feel like some of you may be doing an inner struggle, somebody, especially with Mercury retrograde, it's easy to get in conflict with other people. It's like, it can just like, if you are around people with unresolved stuff, watch out, because it can really come up and be spatting out during Mercury retrograde. But this may be like you showing you may be getting triggered. So you see, oh, I didn't even realize, like that triggered me. Like, so something, we can't get pissed off at someone unless they've triggered something within us. So what is the piece that's in here? Again, not focusing on what's outside and what did this person do to me? Why am I drawing this situation into my life? Like, what am I trying to learn here through this situation? Like, what is the insight that is needed? To me, that's the way to kind of twist the anger around, and how can I love and nurture myself? How can I get to that sorrow and sadness and get some healing around that? Sometimes just a good cry can shift everything. Like, crawl in the bathtub, crawl in the shower, go for a run, throw some plates up against the brick wall to get it out. But this is like, something's not being said. I'm seeing the grill over the mouth here. It feels like either harsh words are said or like I'm seeing almost like the TMJ, like tension in the jaw, where you're not actually saying it. You're just like, so there's like getting it out somewhere, just start, like anger turned inward becomes depression. Anger turned outward becomes aggression. Anger turned sideways is humor. So maybe try to find a way to laugh about the situation to deflect it. That could be but there's needing to shift and move the energies in some way this week. Your turn.
I did get something about the whole trigger scenario whenever you were going through that. It feels to me like there is something that is being triggered this week. And just the way that you can see that guy's face, except for the mouth, really made me feel like something is coming to the surface that's been bothering you, but that you haven't dealt with. It is time for you to deal with it. And that really goes along with that Scorpio eclipse that we just had as well. Deep things are going to be coming up that haven't been dealt with. That's what that feels like to me. Something that normally is going to be a trigger for you. Maybe you haven't seen this trigger come out in a while. You haven't been in that situation. Now we're seeing this trigger come back up. It's time to actually do something about it. And that's really can be the fight. That can be the inner turmoil of doing that work.
And well, and even just coming from a place of being more centered, like, because I know I'm personally more apt to get angry if I haven't had my meditation, my chanting time, if I haven't plugged in spiritually to get up out of my ego. I'm much more likely to be reactive than proactive.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense too. All right, so let's look at some cards, Virgos. You guys got the 7 of coins right side up. We like this. This is my payday card. Then you've got the 10 of swords. This is a card that gets a bad rap, but it brings a lot of relief, actually. And then we have the 3 of coins. So I really feel like there is some kind of situation, and this may kind of go along with if there's somebody that you're fighting with, or at least not getting along with, could be that you're not saying anything about not being happy about them. This, when I was looking at these cards, I think with that payday card, who there's somebody out there that things are not exactly copacetic, but they do owe you some kind of money or something. Maybe they're storing something for you at their house or something. There's something that they owe you. You want to, this week, you want to get whatever it is that they owe you. You want to go ahead and let them give that to you. Like I said, I don't think you've really said anything about anything that's bothering you. I don't think you've really let them know. Okay. So to manifest what you want in your life right now, let that payday or that payback come back to you. And then with the 10 of swords, bring this to an end, because whatever this is some type of long-term source of conflict or debate. And so if this has been going on a long time, it's a relief when it's over, whether you've actually won it or not. Just not having to put any more energy in it is fantastic. So let this person give you whatever it is that they owe you, and then cut it. It's done. And then with this last card, 3 of coins, this basically says that it's time after you've cut that to collaborate with somebody else. So it's not like you're cutting it and you're just left high and dry. Something's coming up where you're able to collaborate with somebody else after you do that. And you may not have had space in your life to collaborate with somebody else until you cut it. So it may be that as soon as you cut it, within a couple of hours, probably, I think something's going to come up that you can collaborate with somebody else and have that be profitable for you, actually, is what I'm getting. What about you?
Well, what jumped out to me the most is that 10 of swords. And I was feeling betrayal. Like it feels like you've been betrayed and stabbed in the back. And it can't even be past life. Like sometimes anger and resentment can bubble up from past lives of betrayal or people who weren't there for you in past lives. And it can just the feelings can come up and you don't know, why am I feeling this way? You know, a lot of times it could be tracked back to a karmic pattern. But I'm with you on the ending. Like this is the end of this pattern. It's the end of being betrayed in relationships. It's the end of like done with this karma kind of thing. So it does feel like a relief in that way too. It's like, yeah, whatever's coming up is coming up and out for all time. So
Yeah,
don't be afraid
I think
of
that's
it.
right.
Yeah, cool. All right. We'll move on to the Libras. Hmm. The Success card. This is a good one.
Oh, we like
Woo-hoo!
that.
Yes, celebration, happiness, joy. This is one of my global travel cards because this tiger's walking on the earth here. So this card can indicate planning a trip, hearing from someone that's from somewhere else on the planet, like connecting in that way, even if it's like through, you know, the magic of the internet or social media or whatever, but it's definitely a good news card celebration. Like it feels like there's like, so I feel like there's a surprise, maybe something even better than you expected is happening. The other thing I think is interesting about this card is that this person's on a, this is not an animal that you ride usually. It's kind of like the taming of the tiger kind of thing. It's kind of like this could be success over an addiction maybe that you've had, like just really turning an addiction around, and like, I'm not going to let this, I'm not going to be turning a fear around. I'm not going to be afraid of this anymore. I'm winning over this pattern. Can also be some of the success. It can be like you get the good news, you get the guy, you get the gal, you get the job, you win the lotto. It can be that kind of woohoo. It can be graduation too, like all the confetti in the air. It's like, I'm done. Yay, success. I completed all that learning. It's done. Like, so, and I know a lot of people are having graduations right now. So that could be like, it's a party. Yay, I'm done. I finished that. But yeah, it just brings me joy and happiness to even look at this card. What about you? What do you get with that?
I like it. I like it a lot. And I think it's really victorious. To me, it makes me think more of like the Six of Wands, where you've accomplished something that not only benefits yourself, but also others. And people are like, they're celebrating that. They're appreciating that. And that's what really comes up for me for that. And it's interesting because some of what you're getting definitely ties in with some of the messages that I have on the board on this end of the camera. So we're going to just look, we're just going to jump right into cards, Libra, because you've got the 10 of Wands and you've got the Death card. Nobody's afraid of that. That can just be Scorpio or transformation Pluto energy.
Lots of people are afraid of it. They just don't need to be.
I'm just like setting the tone for everybody watching.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then we've got the Three of Swords. Don't anybody get stressed out until you hear the translation here, okay? And those of you who don't know me, I am not a candy coder, okay? So do not expect candy coating from me. And if you hear something that you're like, oh, she's just making that up, she's doing a candy coating thing. No, I'm not. I'm going to tell you what I really get, because I think that's the only way that I can actually be helpful to you. So if it's actually good, then just be happy about it. All right, so with this 10 of Wands, for me, that talks about picking up responsibilities, taking on new responsibilities. A 10 is the end of something and the beginning of something. So it's the end of one phase and moving up to the next phase. For me, a 10 of Wands can be a promotion at work or leaving an old job and getting a better job. It can also be taking a relationship to the next level. So for me, this is really talking about taking on some kind of responsibility or taking responsibility in general, okay? Now, with the Death card coming up right after that, that's Pluto energy, that's transformation. This is the total Scorpio card. So death is not talking about somebody dying or kicking the bucket on us. This is talking about we're making a major transformation. And this transformation is usually one that starts from the inside and works its way out. Okay, so it starts with us changing our perspective or changing our mind on something and then moving forward with it. Now, I'm going to tell you that as you were talking, I was looking at this Death card, and I'm thinking somebody is dealing with some type of addiction or toxic relationship. There's something going on here that does not feel good, is not healthy. And even with this card, I really am leaning more towards addiction for at least 80% of you, because you can see there's people who have died on the battlefield here. And I feel like for some of you, some of the things that I was picking up, for some of you, you have friends that you've been partying with for a long time and they're not in the picture anymore. They've already crossed over. They had accidental ODs or, something happened. Maybe they were driving and, so there's been some real tragedy. For those of you that this is about an addiction, there's been some real tragedy around this. And this is kind of what has given you a wake-up call that it's time to take responsibility for this transformation to really turn things around so that you can come into a situation that's more healthy for you, where you have a better life expectancy. And I think with this Three of Swords, it has a double meaning for me here. It tells me that you have seen the tragedy and it is really a heartbreaker. It's a heart wrencher. And it also tells me because I am, like I said, I'm getting a double meaning on this. It also tells me that making this transformation, for those of you especially that this is an addiction, but even for those of you that this is something else that you're having to transform, like say you're walking away from a toxic relationship because you want to transform your life into something more healthy. With this Three of Swords, this hurts. This is not easy emotionally. But if you want to manifest whatever it is that you're looking at manifesting, I'm guessing it's a healthier, happier life, then this is something that has to be faced and has to be dealt with. And just, you just have to grab this bull by the horns and wrestle it down. And it's not easy. And I can tell you guys, as I'm giving this message, like I'm having a hard time not crying because I really feel for you. Because I feel like if this is an addiction that you're giving up, you're not just giving up the addiction, you're also giving up all the friends that you used to hang out with that you considered yourself close to. And so that's really rough. Starting over with a whole new support system is really rough. And I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm not candy coating it. The other thing is, if you're going away from a relationship that you know is toxic, if you're taking responsibility of saying something has to change here, I have to get away from this. If you're in an abusive situation and you're afraid that maybe the next time you end up in the hospital or worse, and you've got to walk away from this, and yet you still love the other person, that can be really rough as well. Whoever this is actually applying to, this is work. This is taking the responsibility and really working this out. And so this is, though, the best advice to manifest what it is you want to manifest in your life. So if you're sitting in your room thinking, I want to have a healthy life, I don't want to be ruled by an addiction, I don't want to be under the thumb of somebody who treats me in a toxic way, this is what it takes. And I'm sorry, but this is what's on the board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
I was getting
it's
with
positive once you go through it.
Yeah, with the 10 of Wands, to me, it feels like there's some sort of reward. There's something that you can gather that you have that feels good. That okay, these are positives. With Death card, I always follow that with rebirth, right? Like every time there's a death, there's a rebirth. So there's something new being born, and it can be the death of a pattern too. It doesn't. I was getting that some of the people have already like overcome the addiction. That's in the past. They've already done that. It's like maybe there's an addictive pattern to get into codependent relationships, for example. It's like, no, you've already like that pattern is done. You're not going to do that again. And like, to me, with that energy, the swords in the heart is like someone shows up. This feels like it's the old karmic pattern. This feels like this relationship's going to end up with me feeling hurt and heartbroken. Like, see the red flags ahead of time. And you don't have to step into that situation where you do end up heartbroken and in the toxic relationship. Like, you can take a pass too, is what it feels like. Or, and if definitely, I feel like you're right on with that, is addressing some people that do need to clear out addictions. It just feels like it just started pouring down rain here. So it just feels like there's a wash, a cleansing going on with whatever the end of this, whether it's a pattern or a person that needs to end or something that needs to fall away. There's a rebirth, there's joy ahead. There's a replenishment, a cleansing that's coming.
Well, I mean, it is the advice for how to have the life that they want. So that's the reward, is the life that they want for going through this.
Yeah. It is really coming down. It's been almost near 100 this week. Every day for a couple of weeks we've had like high 90s, and so this is the coming end of the rain, and then we're only going to be in the 80s for the next week.
Well, we were in the 90s in Denver last week, and we had snow yesterday and today. We've got about 9 inches of snow outside right now. I'm
in Austin. I had one of my clients drive from Austin. He goes, I went from 100 degrees to snow just in his drive. So
yes.
Okay, we're going on next to the Scorpios.
I'm going to be curious about this one.
Yeah. Okay, let's see.
Because I got a stellium there.
I have one of my daughters has 5 planets in Scorpio. So
I only have 4.
Only slacker.
I think that's enough. And my son's at 25 degrees.
That makes to the 7. No wonder you're the psychic.
I think it's also where the eclipse happened, was at 25 degrees.
This is the Master card. This is Osho in the Osho Zen. So this is like indicating that there's a mastery thing going on. Like you've like seen from a higher perspective. I feel like there has been some major realizations here over all these amazing transits and eclipses and stuff. There's been some downloaded intel for sure. He's woke. Like these eyes, it's like I see. So it's like, to me, you've already received the insights that you need. There's like not any new information. Now it's time to digest it and wait for guided action to be taken, because I feel like the information is clear. Like you've gotten the information. Now it's like, okay, I know what I'm going to have to do. Now, when do I do it? That's what feels like it's next. Like, just like that old gray beard, and I don't know. I just kind of think he may be smiling underneath that beard. You can't really tell what his mouth is doing, but I get the sense that there's just some joy at having overcome something, even though there's like, I don't know, it's just the wise soul who's seen it, been there, done it, and like, oh, okay, I get this ride now. I see what I'm doing here. It's kind of like, I feel like some of the Scorpios have seen their mission finally, and other people know. Some other people have known their mission and they're just like, yep, they're moving up to the next level of it. Like it's like you're playing a video game and you get to level whatever. It's like, oh, I haven't been at this level before. It just feels like there's a new level of mastery. There's a new sense of clarity. There's a connection with your divine voice. There's spiritual connection going on that feels very powerful. You're out of the woods is what it feels like. It's like whatever the dark night of the soul that you've been through, I feel like you've been through like the birth canal and you're finally out. Like, okay, it's going to get easier from this point on. It's not going to be intensive. The darkest days are behind you now is what I'm getting with this. It's like, oh, okay, really. Oh, I can just stop and chill. I can be a human being at the moment. I don't have to be a Jew. I can wait till I feel guided to the action. I can just sit here and be conscious and awake and present and sending that energy out to others. It's like being able to see others exactly where they are and not feel like you have to do anything. Oh, okay, I see you. Like his eyes are like, I see you. You don't have to point someone else out. Like people seek out the master, right? Like, what? Tell me, but you can sit there and just, be chill and feel like, okay, accomplishment, integration going on. All right. Yeah, there's more work to do, but it's like when you're clear about it's when you don't know that it's so hard. Like, I don't know. What am I supposed to be doing? How am I supposed to like? And once you get the clarity, then it's like, oh, okay. That's what I'm going to have to be doing. All right. Well, all you have to figure out is this one day. What today do I feel guided to do, right? You don't have to make the master plan. You just have to be the master every day in your plan. That's all. All you have to do is this one day. Like, what today do I feel guided to do? It's easy to get a download for one day and get clarity about where to put your energies, what to do, what not to do in a day. It's harder when you start planning. Because again, the future is not set in concrete. We're creating the future by now. So if you're gathering yourself in a very conscious, present way, things flow when you're centered and still. Your life has a flow about it. So that's what it feels like. It feels like, oh, you're moving into, you can finally swim. Like it feels easier. It feels like things are getting easier. So what do you get?
So I really keyed in on that the smile underneath the beard, not really being visible. It just seemed very gentle to me, like a very gentle, encouraging energy. Also, he reminds me a lot of, and I don't know if you've seen him before, this guy, he's got a YouTube channel. He goes by Sad Guru. I imagine that's not his real name, but he looks a lot like this. He's got the long beard and he's, I don't know what his religious affiliation is, but he looks like he could be like Muslim or Sikh or something like that. And he's very interesting, a very gentle character, but he's also got this adventurous side where I'm not sure if it's over or not yet, but he was touring, I think, the world on a motorcycle. So it kind of makes me think of that very laid back, open energy of just kind of going where spirit takes you type of energy, but also having that mastery to really not be stressed out if that's a motorcycle tour of the world, to just take it like one day at a time, like what you were saying, and just having that gentle laid back energy that also, I think, when I think about people's energy, I really think about how they impact the people that they're interacting with. And the energy on that card comes up as energy of really just gently coaxing, encouraging, uplifting. The people that are around may not even realize that it's happening the whole time that it's happening. So
Yeah,
I think
I've
that
been a
Scorpio is
presence to them. Yeah.
yeah, Scorpios are kind of coming into
Their power.
their power, but also their wisdom and their recognition that what everybody else thinks doesn't always matter.
Right.
You know, you can still have that gentle strength no matter what somebody else thinks about you.
Yeah.
And I think that really comes through clear on that card to me, that this is definitely a time of growth for those of us with Scorpio in our chart, growing into those types of energies. So, and so much of what you said makes sense in my life. We'll have to talk later. Not in public.
Yeah, we'll finish the recording and then we'll keep chatting.
So let's look at cards for Scorpio. I actually was watching you. I didn't even look at the cards as they came down. So we've got the Hierophant, followed by Six of Wands in reverse, followed by the Page of Pentacles in reverse. Scorpio, this is really interesting because remember, what we're looking for is advice on how to manifest what we actually want to create in our lives. With the Hierophant, for me, this talks about creating some kind of commitment, long-term commitment too, not something that's just fly by night, here today, gone tomorrow. With this Six of Wands in reverse, this is basically saying whatever this is we're committing to, it's kind of behind the scenes work. It's not something that people are coming up and saying, oh, thank you, that was wonderful. That's not happening. People may not even be realizing that we're doing this work. Okay, whatever this is that we're working on. And then with the Page of Pentacles in reverse, this can say that whatever this is that we are trying to manifest, the idea that we're committing to doing this thing that gives us no credit also doesn't look like it's going to give us any pay. It's kind of a counterintuitive type of thing. So if we're trying to manifest something that pays us more, then what we're doing is completely the opposite of what we would expect to do. But we still have this strong commitment that we are going to, for me, the Six of Wands in reverse, we're still helping people whether they notice it or not. We're committing to be there with that help no matter what. And the Page of Pentacles says we're not really expecting necessarily anybody to say anything. We're just doing what we know that we can do to help. What do you have?
I was just hearing that next right thing, yeah. And just the emanation of the energy alone, that's just so resonating with me, that you may not even be aware that you're helping the people in your life by just doing your own inner work. To me, it's like that there's a ripple effect happening and you're affecting the people in your life in a positive way. And it may be unbeknownst to you. You may be very aware of it. Like, I don't know, but it's like, to me, I'm just getting this sense that just by doing that next right thing, like, just that next right step, that it's just like there's a domino effect happening, and just it's affecting so many lives in a positive way. So yeah, leveling up, there's just something going to that next level. Yeah.
Definitely.
Cobain.
Who's next? Sagittarius?
Yes. The last fire sign. All righty. See what Sages are up to. What they need to know this week. The Beyond Illusion card. This is the third eye opening. This is one of my psychic cards. This is saying your intuition is speaking loud and clear. This person's eyes are closed, so this could happen. You can getting insights when you're meditating. It could be insights that are coming when you're sleeping, when you're not even thinking about it, that something like your eyes may be closed, your physical eyes may be closed, but that third eye is wide open, getting all kinds of really lovely juju coming in, you know, and it's the butterfly here too. So this is always about transformation. So it's like trusting your intuition and your own insight to like some really dramatic change is what I'm feeling that, you know, and it could even be that you're the caterpillar and you have no idea how you're going to fly, and you don't have to. Again, it's just sort of like your spirit is speaking to you. You know, it feels like you've got a team on the other side. You may have loved ones that have crossed that are like, do you hear me? Like you may get messages from loved ones that have crossed, you know. It could be spirit guides that are like, oh, here, we're here for you. No, you know, don't worry about that. We'll take that off. I feel like you're feeling the experience in a tangible way of spirit this week is what I'm getting. Like, you know, that you may be getting psychic hits about it. You may be feeling it. It could be subtle. It could be loud and clear. I think for some of y'all, it's loud and clear. It's like, my mama showed up in my dream, you know, that kind of thing. And you may get hits on something before something happens, or you may be getting strong psychic vibes, you know, and like just feel like your psychic stuff is on like Donkey Kong this week. You know, it's just like, bam. Okay, I can't deny it. Like I was really psychic this week. Like you're not, to me, you're going to know it's going to be easy. You're going to see clearly your psychic. Like I said, you can wake up from the dream to saying, OMG, that dream was the most vivid I've ever had. Or you have this experience that just seems like kind of out of body. Some of you may be doing some astral travel this week. I don't know. It feels like spirit is in control and this not freaking you out. You're like, oh, thank you. This feels wonderful. It's like going to a fabulous movie. It's like being able to move beyond the 3D world and move into like the 5D reality, like being able to tap into other dimensions, getting information from another plane. It's like, oh, I am a light being. I am an energy worker. I'm a light worker. It's like, to me, it's like light workers are being activated. You're like, okay, I'm getting, all right, it's go time. That's right. There's something I'm starting this week that maybe it's already been coming up, or maybe you get a clear vision this week about something. It feels like there's all these different levels that could come in with psychic information, but it feels like it's on in a strong way. Beyond Illusion is the name of the card. So it's like, you're not like not being able to see. It's like, woo, okay, vision would be another word for the card. I see the vision. I get it. I hear it. Whatever it is, whatever way your psychic abilities work, it feels like it's open, wide open. Your turn.
I love Beyond Illusion. I mean, that's just truth. Bang up. That's it. Truth. Truth is coming in. And I think with the way those eyes are closed and the third eye is open, I think Sagittarius are going to be very open to the idea of that truth coming in, even if it doesn't come in verifiable ways. Even if it comes in psychically, I think that Sagittarius are going to be really open to, okay, I recognize that. That's what I needed to know. Right. So it's interesting because it really feeds in with the cards here. The middle card that I got is the Moon card in reverse. And for me, that card talks about the truth coming up to the surface. You're not even having to dig for it. It just shows up. And so that can very easily happen psychically. So let's look at the rest of these cards, though. Let's see. Sagittarius, 8 of Cups in reverse. And then, of course, the Moon in reverse, the truth coming out. And we have the 3 of Wands in reverse. So let's remember that this is advice about manifesting those things that we want to manifest, or that goal or target that we want to manifest in our life. With this 8 of Cups in reverse, this is just talking about the idea of walking back to something that in the past made us feel exhausted or depleted. And so if we're walking back, we're hoping that it's going to turn out better this time. I've seen this come up for somebody who tried to take like board exams and didn't do well with them. And then they go and retake the test. So it can be something like that, that you have struggled with, and now you're ready to go back and face it again and see if it turns out better. Now, with that moon coming up in reverse, just the act of going back to whatever this is brings up some kind of new truth for you. And if this really is you exactly taking exams, this could be really good. If you're taking an exam, whatever is the first nudge that comes in, write it. Don't second guess it. Don't go back and erase and redo. Just write it in. You don't even have to look and see how much sense does it make if you're getting those strong nudges. If this is a test, then that's fantastic. For those of you this is not a test, it's still the idea that going back to this thing is still going to reveal some truth to you. And it may be that when you're back in this old situation, your psychic abilities could have kicked up enough since you left that now you're seeing the truth about a situation there that you never really could pick up before because you weren't paying attention to your psychic abilities or your senses. So truth coming up one way or the other, probably psychic considering the other card that we have for you guys. And then with this last card being the Three of Wands showing up in reverse, this is basically saying whatever this is that you're going back to, you're just going back to there temporarily. Three of Wands in reverse is make no plans, no strings attached. This is just I'm showing up, I'm making my cameo appearance, I'm getting that information that I need, and then I'm out of here like Jackrabbit on down the road. Okay? What do you got?
Well, before you even started talking about the review, I was thinking this feels with all the reversed cards, this feels like Mercury retrograde, where all the re's come in, rethink, review, reconsider. It's all like, do the moonwalk. Wait. Thinking of something in a different way. And with the Beyond Illusion be all about your intuition being the guide. It's like, yeah, maybe how you thought something was going to be is not it at all. Like have your mind be open to looking at something from a different perspective in a different way. Like you may get some insights that you never thought of. That's what it feels like. It's like, to me, this is about your mind. You're gonna like, wait, that's not what I thought it was. Like, your thinking is being reversed in some way. There's the, like I said, the Mercury retrograde is like, oh wait, I'm looking at this in a different way. But the intuition is so wide open that it's like, oh well, when your mind's going, wait, what? It's good sometimes for the mind to be offline, because that way the intuition can be sneaking in that much louder. So it feels like it fits really well hand in hand. This is all about following intuition and not trying to overthink. It's like being willing to look at something from a different perspective, to review. There's a new insights coming, new ways of thinking that are coming. Yeah.
Definitely.
All right, let's move on to the Capricorns. The Capricorns have really been going through it. I think with Pluto moving through your sign, it's been rough for years. I think for a lot of Capricorns, it's like, when is it going to stop being so hard? Well, in March, Pluto moves into Aquarius. Okay, it'll back into Capricorn for a little bit of the time next year, but by 2023, it's in a completely new sign, and you're going to be felt completely changed. So it feels like you've got, another year and a half or so to go of like some deep level transformation and change, and then you're like off the hook. I've drawn the Fool card. To me, the Fool is about not caring if someone else thinks you're a fool. To me, this is about listening to your intuition and following it fully, not being a fool, right? So this is like, this feels right for me. I'm going to do this. And it's like starting something new. I'm going to do this. This feels right. I'm going for it. I don't care what you think, to me, this guy's all hopeful, there's like the moon and the stars here. Like he's not worried he's stepping off a cliff. It looks like he's kind of walking on air, actually, so it's like the universe is coming in to support him because he's just going for it. He's just taking a leap of faith is kind of what I see with this card. There could be a journey involved. You may be doing some travel. You may be doing a complete new venture, but it feels like it's led by the heart, led by the intuition, and like there's beautiful things coming. He's not going to take a fall here. Like something's gonna. There's a story here that's about to happen, and it's not about he falls tragically to his death. Like this is good. This is good. This is a new beginning. There's a beautiful road down here, right? You see the road in beautiful colors down here. There's a path here that he's going to somehow magically get to. That's going to lead him into this whole new scenario, a whole new scene going on. What about
I
you?
love it that the whole new scene is covered with clouds too. There's a lot of mystery. We don't really know where he's going to end up here. Now, for me, that card also is my leap of faith card. Those are my keywords for that card. And I agree with you totally. It's starting something completely as a leap of faith based on intuition. I always say it's something that, maybe your friends don't understand, but you know that it's the right thing to do. Whether there's facts to back it up or not, just doesn't matter. So total agreement on that. I think it's funny that you mentioned, that it is a leap of faith based on intuition, because first card for you Capricorns is the High Priestess. So check it out. And then after that, we have the King of Cups, very empathic person, followed by the Page of Swords in reverse. So Capricorns, let's dive in here. I do think that your intuition is kicked into high gear this week, definitely for most of the week. And it's important to pay attention to it to manifest those things that you're working on manifesting right now. Also important is to be really in touch with your feelings as well. How do you feel about what's going on in your life? How do you feel about the people that are in your sphere of influence in your life? And really, my King of Cups is somebody that, they're tapped into how other people feel, many times very empathic. They're very intuitive themselves, but they're also somebody who they're in control of their emotions. And they may or may not share those emotions with everybody around. They might make other people earn that right to know about their emotions. So this is basically telling me that it's good to be in control of your emotions. It's good to be in control of what you talk about and how you say it. It doesn't mean that it's good to suppress your emotions. If there's something you need to talk about, but maybe it's not a good idea to talk to Cindy Joe at the stall next to you at work, you may want to journal about it. But you definitely are going to be in control of your emotions, handling things in a very healthy way. And that's going to be part of the focus to manifest what you want. Also, last thing that comes up as far as manifesting whatever it is that you guys want, because remember, I said, pick that out before we get started with cards, is with this Page of Swords in reverse. This says it's time to do some research. Okay, so it's great that you have a lot of intuition going on. We like that. It's also great that you're not necessarily sharing your dreams with everybody around and what makes you excited with everybody around. You're not sharing your feelings with everybody. That's a good thing. That can be very self-protective, especially if you don't want a dream popper coming up and putting a pin in your little dream bubble before you actually get to make it into reality. And with this Page of Swords, do your due diligence. Whatever it is that you're trying to manifest here, do your due diligence. Make sure that if you're going to sign a contract, you've read the fine print. Don't forget, Mercury's still in retrograde. Not everything is going to seem like and not everything is going to be what it seems like. So definitely make sure you've got all the information. Don't be skimping on it just because you're feeling intuitively like, oh, this is what I want to start. Well, yeah, it is what you want to start, but maybe you might have to tweak the plan a little here and a little there to get it off the ground right, because we do have to relook at things when Mercury's in retrograde. So make sure you do your due diligence. Chances are there is going to be something that has to be changed and you're not going to catch it unless you do that due diligence this week. What
And
do you
I was
have?
getting that some of that maybe your attitude, like to me with both of the throne cards, it can be an arrogance because I'm in charge, I'm the one on the throne. It's the ego is not the higher self, like the
Right.
intuition. If that's guiding the ship, then you're in. But if it's the ego that's like, oh no, I already got this, I already know. But the knowing is coming from ego mind instead of intuition knowing. It's a different thing. So it's like some discernment is needed and making sure that you are indeed operating on intuition and what you're feeling guided to do, not what you think you know. That's the other piece I get.
Right. And
Watch
I want
out.
to add
Watch
too, because
out.
I'm thinking also as I'm looking at this high priestess, even though intuition is strong there, this kind of feeds into what I was getting with this King of Cups about, keeping things close to your chest. The high priestess keeps her secrets. So this is just like a added, don't tell everybody what you're up to. It's not
Mhm.
good. This is
Right,
not the time for that.
right.
She can be the ice queen. In some decks, she's considered the ice queen. So she looks like she's unfriendly to some people, and maybe she looks like she's the B word to some people. But you know what? It's for a purpose.
Mhm.
Let them think what they need to think.
Right. Yeah, great. Great guidance. All right, we're moving on to the Aquarians.
Whoop, whoop. I have a lot of really good Aquarian friends, but I cannot date them for anything.
My
Female friends, we do well, but I
my
cannot date an
Venus and my
Aquarius guy.
Saturn are in Aquarius. So like I love Venus, the unique and the different. I see Aquarius is like, yeah, do it, what? Do it outside the box. And so it's like my circle of friends is as eclectic as you can get.
Oh
And
yeah.
then Saturn in Aquarius is like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna do it that way. Oh, you think I'm gonna do it that way? Oh no, I'm not gonna do it that way. I'm like,
You want me to do it the routine way? No way.
Aquarius is like the maverick, like Uranus is the planet that rolls, and like Uranus, you can't predict which way you're like. If you know a good Aquarian, you don't know what they're going to do next. Like,
They can change their mind in 20 minutes. What they tell you now can be completely outdated very quickly.
right. So, and
But
everybody
you
has
can have a
all,
good conversation with them.
yeah, everybody has all 12 signs in their chart. Like, it just rules a different aspect of your chart and your
As
life.
far as houses, yeah.
Mhm.
I have no planets in fire whatsoever. Isn't that odd?
It can happen like that. I did a reading for a client once that had all earth, nothing but earth. She was
Oh,
a
wow.
millionaire, so she could manifest on the material plane. Her relationships, no, her children, several ex-husbands, like it's like she could not do relationships well, but she could manifest.
I
I've
don't do, go ahead.
I've drawn the inner voice card for the Aquarian. So this is one of my psychic cards. This is about listening to the inner voice. Again, here in the third eye position is a whole nother head, a whole nother being here, and a whole nother, it's the higher self talking. It's about listening to that inner voice that we all possess. And Aquarians usually already in touch with this. I see Aquarians usually as naturally psychic. Most Aquarians I meet are already in touch with their intuition. The dolphins here, the double dolphins, this card can also come up as being like that symbiotic relationship where it's like, oh wait, I'm vibing you, you're vibing me, this is all synchronous. This can indicate like a super vibey relationship. It could involve picking up on someone psychically that's somewhere else on the planet. Even a future partner, you can go, wait, I'm getting some download about what you're going to be like, and some intel coming in. It's kind of like the beyond illusion card where it's like the third eye is wide open, there's a whole being there in the third eye, that's like downloading things. Like I love it. This is kind of reverse where the eyes are open, that the third eye person's eyes are closed, but they're like all happy and smiling, like, ooh, good stuff is coming. There's good things coming. And just I'm always drawn to the crystal that's here. It's like you know, sometimes just having the stones and crystals around you is super helpful. There's also all this water energy, right? So to me, this could be a week where make sure you're drinking plenty of water. It may be raining where you are. There could be like climb in the tub, climb in the shower, listen to your download, listen to your inner voice. You cannot go wrong in listening to intuition this week. And that there is this heightened energy, you know. The moon here is prominent in this card too. So there's just a strength of intuition. Inner voice is loud and clear. It feels like you're getting very clear messages. Again, they could be psychic messages that you're receiving from someone else. So if someone's coming across your radar really strongly, do I need to take action on Fred? You know what I mean? Like, do I need to call Fred? Do I need, I feel like you're going to be shown if, what to do. Like it feels like clear information, clear guidance is coming in this week for the Aquarians. How about you? What do you get?
I like it. I like it. I also think of when I looked at those dolphins, that has a lot to do with intelligence for me. And it also has to do with give and take because there were the two that were kind of across from each other. So I am seeing a lot of intelligent conversations, possibly debates happening this week too. Yeah, I think that's all I want to say about that. Okay, so let's do cards for Aquarius. You guys got the Chariot right off the bat in reverse. You've got the Ten of Pentacles in reverse. Trying to get off the glare, but I'm not sure I could. And we've got the Eight of Swords also in reverse. So when we're looking at what you're trying to manifest for this week with the Chariot in reverse, what I was really picking up off of this psychically was it's time to sort of slow down. Don't be impatient. Don't be trying to mash the gas, literally or figuratively, to get to what you're trying to manifest. I was also getting this idea of check your foundation. Make sure that everything that you're trying to build on is solid and is reliable and is in place. Okay, there's some kind of delay with moving forward, so you're not going to be rushing forward with whatever this is you're trying to manifest. This is the perfect opportunity to make sure that foundation is solid so that you can build on it and have confidence in what you're adding to it. With that Ten of Pentacles coming up in reverse, for me, this is my card that says, I've got something in my life that makes me feel really secure already. I'm trying to upgrade it. That's what I'm working on. I'm working on upgrading it. This can be adding on to a home, going up for a promotion. There's lots of ways that we can upgrade our sense of security. If we get security from the idea of relationships, this can be upgrading a relationship even on the Ten of Coins for me. So this is just basically saying that what you're slowing down on, what you're trying to manifest is an upgrade in your sense of security in the tangible world. So slow down, set the foundation, make sure that that is right. That's part of the process. And just know that it's going to take some time. So don't be going all impatient and then shooting yourself in the foot with self-sabotage. Allow it to take the time that it needs to organically to get up to that upgrade point. Now, by the time you get to the end of the week, we've got that Eight of Swords in reverse. I love it. This is my breakthrough card. Okay, this is what says that patience has paid off. That setting that foundation has paid off. So now you have this breakthrough with this upgrade that's happening. So I'm not sure that you've got exactly what you want by the end of the week, but I know you've made lots of progress. And I would say by the end of next week, you will have met your goal. What do you have?
Well, again, with all the reverse cards, I'm thinking about Mercury retrograde and how everything is like, the re's. When you were talking about upgrade, I was feeling like that you may need to pray up spiritually, upgrade your spiritual practice, like really rely on your spiritual connection more. That maybe it's not as much as you might want to manifest something on the material plane this week, that maybe it's not the week to material. Maybe it's just to hold the vision and practice trusting that it'll come about, or do you have a clear sense of vision for what it is that you want? Are you and then sometimes it's just about holding the vision and trusting. It's like, if you put it out there in a clear way, then don't go back and erase it. Like, does this still feel right? Yes. All right, then I'm still going to hold that vision. It's like doing the vision board kind of thing. It's like, it helps you get clear about what you want. But again, with the Rees, you may have to rethink something, return something, review something. And again, it may be not the quite right time, but doesn't mean it's not going to come into fruition just because it doesn't come in this week. But I feel like if you're upping your spiritual practice, you're feeling more at peace with however the process. Yeah. Okay.
And that brings the breakthrough.
Yes, that's awesome. And let's go to the Pisces.
All righty.
If you can hear the thunder, but it's like thundering out there. I love thunder and rain. It's just really great. Okay, I've got the clinging to the past card. So this is like the blockhead. This is when you're caught up in all the things that you coulda, shoulda, woulda. You're caught up in all your past relationships, like your karma. Like, this is pretty self-explanatory. It's like, get out of that friggin' head. Don't keep replaying it over and over and over again. Sometimes this can be about like, I've got to do it this way. Like, you want to make a change, but you're keep doing the same things over and over and over again. So this is an opportunity to me. It's like, take off the head. And it's just like, oh, that's right. I can just feel. This is like stuck on something, it feels like something's on repeat over and over. And you make it feel like you're caught in a karmic loop. You're caught in a Groundhog's Day where you're just doing the same thing over and over and over again. If nothing changes, nothing changes, right? It's like, something has to shift deep within. And it feels like it starts with changing the way you're thinking, changing what you believing you can end a karmic cycle, that you don't have to keep repeating it, and then dropping that down. I'm feeling like there's all these sparkling lights, like you really may need some help and support with it. You may have to go to a therapist to help you unload all the stuff in the brain. You may have to like talk it out with your best friend, go to a group therapy of some sort, 12-step group where you're like getting support for ending these karmic patterns. Because it feels like this has been going on for too long, Pisces. Like, this is an old story. Clinging to the past is no longer serving you, right? Capitalize on this energy of Mars going into Aries. I mean, Mars is moving through your sign. It's at the last degrees as we're recording this. This is the time to let it go, whatever it is. You can't change it. Let it go. What is the new pattern you want to have and replace? Sometimes you don't have the vision. You're so stuck in, well, I always blah, blah, blah. I never blah, blah, blah. Well, do you realize when you say I always or I never, that you are creating that very thing that you always end up? Is that what you want? So sometimes I feel like there's some unconscious recreation of the same thing, because you're not, it's like I use that word creative energy, kind of like the old Play-Doh fun factory. You put the star shape in, you put the Play-Doh out, everything comes out the star shape, right? I want a heart. If you don't change the screen to the heart shape, you're going to keep putting out the star shape, right? So you've got to change what you're holding as your belief systems. Like, to manifest, you have to believe it. Your inner talk has to be aligned with it. Your speech has to be aligned with it, and your actions have to be aligned with it. You can say, oh, I want to manifest abundance. Okay. So do you catch yourself saying, I never have, I don't have enough for that. I know I can't do that. I'm broke. It's like, wait, that's the opposite of believing I'm abundantly blessed and prospered, kind of thing. So it's like, what is it that you want? Take yourself out of the stuck place. What do you want in place of the place where you're stuck? What kind of relationship do you want to manifest? What kind of habits do you want to have with yourself? Like, take yourself to the end game, like beyond, like do a leapfrog here, over the hump, get to yourself to the goal. And then you have to really track it down on a deep level. Believe in it, speak it, think it, take action in some way towards what you want instead of what you're stuck in. Your turn.
I think that we're seeing a lot of the similar things, but we have different wording for how we would normally phrase that.
Okay.
And maybe that's the beauty of having two readers looking at it. Maybe somebody needs to hear it in a different way, or two ways. But I feel like to me that, okay, first of all, I love that card. I think it's a fantastic card. To me, that block around the head kind of makes me think a little bit about a TV and reruns and just seeing things over and over in our lives and that pattern not changing, but also this idea of projecting, that we're projecting something out into our life that may or may not be real, but it makes it seem like we're in another rerun again. And we're so sick of the reruns. But really, what's going on is that, we've got some kind of trauma that has really seared into our mind. And now every time we open our eyes, we see the imprint of that trauma on whatever's in front of us. And so, really, um, do some work. Do some work on being objective and do some work on deactivating some triggers and recognize that the people around you are not the people who were around you 20 years ago or 2 years ago, that, they are coming from a different place. And this does not have to end as a rerun. This can be a whole brand new movie if you want it to be. So very similar, you have to do some self-work on this, and you have to focus on what do I really want and how do I manifest what I really want, and is what I really want right in front of me. Maybe I'm doing some self-sabotage if I'm really projecting that badly on somebody. So definitely worth looking at. What I have coming up on cards as far as to help those of you with Pisces placements manifest something this week. It's interesting. This is very similar to somebody else's, and I don't know if this would have been Virgo or not, but it could be an opposing sign. But what you have is the Death card in reverse, followed by Three of Swords in reverse.
This looks like a deja vu.
Doesn't it?
Mhm.
Except for this card, followed by the Tower in reverse. And folks, we like the Tower in reverse better than we do right side up. So, Death card in reverse. There's somebody, I don't think that it's you. I will tell you straight up. I think this is somebody who influences your life. So somebody, what I would say in your sphere of influence, who knows that they need to make a change to improve their life. This change would probably also improve your relationship with this person. Can be a romantic partner, doesn't have to be, could be a boss, a colleague, a friend as well. Not going to take that off the table, but doesn't have to be the only thing on the table. Now, so this is somebody who knows they need to make a change and that it would really benefit them, but they don't know what it's going to do with the rest of their life and the other people that they interact with. And so they are not ready to make that change because they're afraid of the unknown. Okay. Now, with this Three of Swords coming in behind it, kind of the same message as we got before, it's time to do some healing for you. It's time for you to recognize that, okay, this person isn't going to change. I can't change them. That is not my job. And it is also not possible. They're only going to change if they're ready to change. And, trying to wait around until you can figure the right words to say to make them change is a pretty fruitless exercise in self-sabotage. So, advice here to manifest whatever you want to manifest this week, Pisces, is to recognize that this person just is where they are. And maybe they won't be here forever, maybe they will, but either way, this is where they are right now. And kind of come to that point of acceptance. Recognize that it's not anything personal against you, it's them doing their best. This is what it looks like. And allow yourself to sort of heal up from where you were taking it personal before. Also, with this Tower coming up in reverse, this is basically telling you that this person's behaviors and actions that they refuse to change have already shook your life up really badly. And now, by coming to accept that this is just how this person is and figure out, what do I want to do with this person the way they are right now? What do I want to do with that? Allows you to move forward and start to rebuild your life in a more solid way. Because as long as you keep trying to fix this person, you're not rebuilding your life. You're just leaving that tower kind of in shambles all around you. Okay, so you got to take the attention off of trying to fix this person and put your attention on, what do I want to build in my life with or without this person? You know, you don't have to decide they're never going to be in my life again, but you do have to start taking action. If you want to manifest what you want in your life, at least you have to start taking action towards those goals, regardless of what this other person is doing or not doing. What do you have?
Well, I was thinking when you were talking about it could be a partner or whatever, I was thinking or a child. And the other thing is
Yes.
like I was hearing, and I come in like a wrecking ball. It's just like,
Yes.
somebody may have
Yes.
really just create, I mean, like you are not better off by being with this, like, you know, uh, they have left some damage behind. It could be emotional damage, it could be literal physical damage, it could be, you know, just, pocketbook damage. There's been like, yeah, and again, you can't go back and change anything, but you can fortify yourself. And it does feel like that there was old patterns at play, that you were just, again, stuck in that box of doing things the way you do it. So how do you do something differently? Like, what do you need to do to fortify yourself and put your needs first? Again, it's not selfish to care for yourself. Boundaries feel like they've been weak. You've letting somebody boil over your boundaries, and it's left you depleted. So this is a huge lesson to learn, and you don't have to keep being stuck in the past. You don't have to keep repeating this same pattern, right? And it may mean that you never see this person again, right? It could be that you shift so much that when you do, or if you do see this person again, you're not even tempted to do the old patterns. Like, that would be my desire and hope for you. And hopefully you would have that for yourself, that you would envision a scenario where you do it differently. Like, you would think maybe someone else in your life that wouldn't be run over. Like, think of someone that would handle your situation, or would have handled your situation differently. Like, how can you take on their qualities and empower yourself for future? Because it feels like, I see all karmic patterns. If we don't learn our lessons, the universe goes, oh, okay, well, we'll send that lesson to you again. Once you evolve and you get it, you're like, oh, wait, it's always an inner peace to see. It may look like this other person, but there's always something within you that's co-signing in the behavior, somewhere where you didn't set the boundary and didn't take care of you. So it's okay to fortify yourself. It's okay to say no. You can say no with love. It can be, no, I'm not willing to do that. No, that doesn't work for me. And you don't have to have an explanation. You don't have to make up a lie as to why you can't. You can just, no, that's not going to work for me. I love you, but no. No is a complete sentence, just so you know.
And going back to that you can say no in a nice way. If you have not said no, if you don't have a lot of practice saying no, the first few times that you say it, don't beat up on yourself if it does not come out nice. You haven't practiced saying it at all, much less saying it nice. So if it comes out rough, okay, well, you just need more practice.
It needs
That's
to be
really all it
something
is.
firm, right? Firm, yeah. So, yeah, awesome. All right,
And then the
guys.
other thing to
Oh,
I
go
want
ahead.
to say one more thing.
Okay.
I just am
Wow.
getting a little nudge to say, whoever it is that needed to hear that particular message, you should know that Reiki does help people who have relationship situations that they would like to see come into a more healthy situation. And I've seen a lot of success with that. It started off actually with me originally. And that's why I figured I need to learn to do Reiki for my clients because they need this too. Um, but definitely you may want to look into, definitely you may, definitely you want to look into Reiki because I wouldn't be getting this nudge if Spirit wasn't really interested in you checking out Reiki, especially as it pertains to these types of situations in relationship, because whoever needs to hear this, I feel like you have a cycle where this happens with multiple people in your life in your relationship. So it's time to do something about it. And Reiki can help kind of get you that leg up to help you with your self-work and get into a good space with that.
And prayer for others can also be helpful too. Like
Yes.
I don't need to interact with them, but I'm going to lift them up in prayer. I'm going to hope that they get struck, awakened by their own higher self, that they can become their best self. You know, prayer in that realm can help lift them up when you feel helpless about making any change, because it feels like that's part of the pattern too. Like, I can help them. Has that worked? You know, so, but you can, more helpful, I think, is sending people prayer. And you're right, Reiki as well. So there's, you know, it's
Because you can help them and you can help yourself. The prayer helps you help them. Well, and you could pray for yourself too. But the Reiki also helps you help yourself.
And so does prayer,
And
really.
you don't want to repeat this cycle over and over and over. That's why you want to help yourself as well.
Yeah. And prayer for others sometimes can bring in exactly what you need too. It's like, it's, you know, putting the attention on someone else and praying for them can bring in the spiritual things that you need too. It's that kind of weird, you know.
It'll help you soften up towards that other person for sure. And it'll help them soften up towards you as well.
Mm-hmm. All right. I feel like that's a good place to end here for the week. Thank you guys so much. And thank you so much, Amista
Thank you for
Bennett,
having
being
me.
with me today. And again, I'll put contact information for myself and for Amista below this video. We'll be time stamping all these readings so you can go exactly to your signs. If you've watched this whole long thing, thank you for your very long attention.
All right.
I do have people that tell me they watched the whole thing. So it was like, you may have watched this in pieces if that's the truth. This has been so delightful. Thank you so much for joining me. And for all you guys who are watching, thank you so much for tuning in. Please subscribe, like, share, all those things. Peace.
Thank you for having me.